All right, ladies and gentlemen, I never know how to start these things, Senpai. So I'm just gonna jump into it. What up, every motherfuckers? How's it going across your bow? Episode 46. Boy, I fucked that up. Hey, Across Your Bow podcast episode 46 is now underway with my special guest this week, motherfucking Virtual Senpai. You guys can hit him up at Virtual Senpai over on the Twitter or twitch.tv/Virtual Senpai. Of course, I am Sir Venom IK. What up, everybody? How are y'all doing? Right here at Sir_Venom_IK or over on the right here on the Twitch. If you guys are over on YouTube, twitch.tv/Sir Venom IK. If you guys want to have an active and live conversation. All right, Virtual Senpai, what you been fucking with this week, man?
I've been taking her easy just because last weekend, I don't know, my numbers took a hit, so felt a little uneasy about that. So lately I've just been taking a week and just kind of figuring out a new kind of approach for the coming months, getting ready for a few things that we're going to be talking about. British Cruise was released today, so been prepping my grind for that as well. But yeah, man, like we're gonna be doing some more ship stuff, and then my birthday's coming up, so we're gonna do a ship stream.
Happy birthday.
Probably middle of March.
You're gonna be 12,
and
right?
Oh yeah, definitely 12.
One day, guys, he might be able to grow some facial hair.
Just maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, and
He's
then I'm
rubbing
gonna
on
be
it.
traveling to. I'm traveling to Memphis in May.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, I'm going
How
for
you
the
coming?
St. Jude's.
Oh, that's right. You and Finn
St.
and
Jude's
a
thing.
couple other people are going, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good time. But yeah, just been kind of chilling like a villain, doing three things of WoW: World of Warcraft, World of Warships, and WoW Classic, of course. So.
Oh, you're actually playing on live servers? And
I'm
not
playing
the
on the
classic
retail
server?
ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm playing on live servers just because, like, after watching the race to world first, it really got me thinking. I made a lot of friends playing retail WoW, and I've met a lot of people through it as well, and so like I want to get back into it just because they made it nice, fresh, and exciting.
Yeah, there you go. It's something to look forward to whenever you decide to, you know what, I'm not really feeling ships today. Let's go play something else. I get it.
Pretty much.
I absolutely get it. I know I've taken my time away from the game, but when I take my time away from the game, dude, I take chunks of time, like a full month going doing something else. That way I can really just expel all the negativity that I have for World of Warships at times, which can be quite a lot. And then just come back and get refreshed, and then have a fresh perspective on things. Maybe in the month that I'm gone, things will change, but they haven't changed in 4 years. So who knows if they ever will? But a couple things have changed. They have announced. This is going to be our first announcement today. 4 new ships coming out. 4 new special. I don't know what you want to call these, special ships. I don't fucking know. We got 1 for coal, 1 for steel, and 2 for free XP. Now this is kind of old information, but I have not talked about it here on the podcast yet, so we'll do this today.
Oh no.
The Tier 10 French destroyer, the Marcel Marceau, will be there for coal. I don't know how much and don't know when it's coming. The Japanese battleship Yashima, which I think is going to be a disaster, will be available for steel. The Hayate, which is a very good boat, I really enjoyed that one, will be available for free XP. That's courtesy of the vote that the Twitch chat had over there on the warships. I don't know. They did some kind of poll, if I remember correctly, and everybody.
Yeah,
voted
they
for
did the
free
poll
XP.
during one of their streams, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? We're doing that," and the community spoke, and they decided now we're getting the thing for free XP.
We're listening to you guys.
In my opinion, I think it should have been for coal because I don't know. It's just coal feels like it's a lot easier to obtain, and it feels like it'll kind of give into the exclusivity. Like, don't get me wrong, free XP ships are great, but getting those free XP ships, you lose that exclusivity. You lose that feeling of, hey, I have something different.
I don't want to hear about exclusivity in this game anymore, man. Let me tell you why. Back in the day, I've been playing this game for 3.5, almost 4 years now, and man, I busted my ass in them rank seasons to get that flint. Busted my ass 2 more rank seasons to get that goddamn black. next week after that ranked season ended, they took the black out of the reward system and put it up for steel. So that exclusivity went to almost nil. Especially then during that Christmas, they sold the Steel Monsters campaign, gave
Oh
away
god, that
steel,
thing was disgusting.
devaluing the steel even further. So yeah, exclusivity means nothing to them, and making your accomplishment for earning those boats meaningless. And
Oh yeah.
that's a sad thing. All right, the last one is Smallland. It's be available for free XP. That's the Pan-European DD. I didn't much care for that one either. I thought the Holland was a better choice in every way.
Oh yeah. The Holland was absolutely hilarious to play. Honestly, I'm excited to see that thing, because who doesn't love super fast torpedoes?
Well, we have an option now to gain torpedo speed without losing any range. Came out today. That module in that third slot. I've actually put it on a couple of boats, and I was going to test it out after the show tonight. I have not played yet today, but that seems interesting to me, man. They've also got an accuracy mod that will up the range of your secondaries at the same time. So maybe instead of just going full on secondary build at 11.3 kilometers on something like the Massachusetts, you cut that out and you go down to 9.9 or maybe straight up 10. But then you have more accurate guns on the Massachusetts, which is one of the biggest pet peeves I have with is those main set of guns, because they're wonky. I'll be fair. They hit when they hit hard, but you have to get them to hit. That's my biggest deal. So
That actually allows for a little more survivability in secondary spec battleships, if you really think about it, because they're giving it more accuracy, which is what manual secondaries technically did. And now you can put you can get the same effectiveness, but now you can add in
main gun.
You can add in yeah.
You have another tool. You have another
exactly.
tool in your arsenal. You're not just a big fucking tank rolling in and doing nothing. So how is this going to affect the German battleships, the Gneisenau, the Bismarck, and the Freddy, the FDG at 7, 8, and 9, and the Tirpitzes, both Tirpitzes that they have there? How is it going to affect those? If you take this, that gives you it doesn't give you the 20% range. It gives you a 5% bonus range. So on the Tirpitz, it's 9.9 kilometer secondaries with the range mod currently, or the accuracy mod in slot 3. So you're getting a 5% more. So you're looking at 10, 10.1, 10.2, and then you're going to have. Plus, they also got that recent buff, which I think the recent buff was bullshit because it didn't really do anything. I didn't hit any more shots than I was hitting before. The only one that I think that actually affected was the GK, and it made it a lot better. It made it actually enjoyable to play for that first 8 minutes when you're floating around doing nothing. Now you're actually being able to consistently hit things. Consistently, in my eyes, consistently.
I've noticed that, like with the GK, I've actually been playing it way more. I actually liked it so much, I bought the space camo for it.
GK, I never bought that one.
It's a nice looking one. It's nice and clean.
When those things came out, I was so down on the whole German line, other than the destroyers and the cruisers, but that whole battleship line is just rough. It's hard. Now, let me give you background, guys. I reset the German battleship line, right? And I played it up to the Baron. When we found out that the German battleships were going to get a buff to their accuracy, I stopped playing the Germans until that hit. And then I played through the Gneisenau, the Bismarck, and the Freddy obviously over the next couple of weeks. And playing them 6, 7 games a day, 5, 6 games a day, I just didn't see the accuracy buff. I just did not make any sense. I'm still missing the same shots I was missing before. If I would hit one shell out of the 6 on the Gneisenau, I was happy. Random nonsense, man. It was like, okay, well, my dispersion's so bad, I'm actually hitting something. When my dispersion's good, I usually miss. You know what I mean? And it's generally my fault. But with that German buff that they got overall, and then this accuracy mod with the secondaries, that puts it in a whole new level. Now I'm interested to go back and play these again for another time going through to see if it actually makes even more of a difference. I would like to see it. I would like it to be something good, because there is potential in these boats. I think the German battleships, but Their guns just have to be better.
I mean, there's also the argument that the German battleships are accurate. It's just the double gun setups really screw you over.
I agree. I agree with that as well.
Because like with the Gneisenau, the Bayern, like that's basically any the tier 6 to 9. There's the argument to be made that double gun, like twin gun turrets, really mess you over. And then you get the grosser curve first, where you have 12 shells flying through the air. It feels more accurate because you've got more ordnance heading down range. Therefore, you have a higher chance at hitting something, which is kind of like
there's more room for error.
It's almost like a placebo. Yeah, exactly. There's more room for error. It's almost like a placebo effect where you have these double gun battleships and you can't hit the broadside of a barn, but suddenly you hit tier 10 with the curve first, and suddenly you're dev striking people off the map.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And there's a couple other boats in that category that drive me nuts. The Nagato, the Amagi, the Georgia, the Ohio. They all drive me crazy because when I need the damage, those double guns aren't consistent enough for me. You know, and when they hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm 4 kilometers off of a guy and I'm putting my trigger right, say I'm cheeking a Yamato, I can cheek a Yamato from 4 kilometers, right? And I fire my 8 shells or my 4 shells from my front guns from the Georgia, and they go, 2 of them drop short and the other one drops into the, doesn't even go exactly where I aim it. It drops over the top of the guy, or it hits instead of hitting the cheek lower, it raises up too high and hits the gun, and I bounce off and I break my shells. Mm-hmm. That right there, I see it so much, and that's the most frustrating part about double gun turrets that drive me crazy.
Now, one could make the argument that with the Nagato, not the Nagato, but the Amagi. The Amagi has 10 guns, mm-hmm. whereas a lot of these other battleships have 8 to 6. Therefore, there's less firepower heading mm-hmm. down range. Now, 10 guns on the Amagi, there's 10 guns there, which means you technically have one more rifle than the Yamato,
right?
Which mathematically speaking, says you have the potential to hit more shells.
Absolutely.
Like it'll feel more accurate, and therefore you should, in theory, have a better accuracy rating than the Yamato.
All right, now let me throw this caveat.
I guess that might be a caveat.
Well, I was going to say, let me throw this caveat into my Amagi experience. I played the Amagi quite a while ago, and I haven't played it in a long time, unless somebody in the chat said, "Hey, play the Amagi." My experience with the Amagi is I'll have one game that's absolutely phenomenal. I hit everything, right? 140, 150K, pretty easy game, we win. The next game, I can't hit the fucking thing, and I do 40K. There has never been, okay, I got 70K, I got 80K, I got 90K. There is a lapse of things that every other game when I play the Amagi is good dispersion, and the other one is bad dispersion. So when I can't count on the boat every game to be where it is, or at least halfway decent for some part of the game, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Hence why I sold the hood. Hence why I sold the hood twice. Actually, twice I sold the hood, man. Believe it, man. I got it some way. Somehow I got it in a box 2 years ago or whenever it was released. Then I sold it after a game where I missed everything. Was pissed off at it. Then I got it back this last Christmas and sold it. And then one of the guys in the chat bought it for me. And I was like, damn it, now I can't sell it. So, rawr, that boat sucks.
I mean, there's one thing to say about selling premiums, because when you get the crates, you're eventually going when the Christmas crates usually come around. Usually those ships are in the prize pool, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have one would be like, exactly, and that counts if you sell them too. So one would be thinking, you know what? Let's just keep it in the port. Like I have over 200 ships in my port.
Yeah.
I don't touch like a good 3/4 of them because it's like, you know what? I don't want that to diminish my chances at me getting a ship that I don't already have. So, like, there's ships like, let's say, the Yahagi, which is an absolute dumpster fire of a tier 5 cruiser, in my opinion, and the Krasny Krim. I still have not sold my Krasny Krim, and I will not sell it.
I like the Krasny Krim.
Simply because I don't want to take that chance at getting a really crappy ship in my boxes.
So here's the deal. We're both community contributors for the NA server. I got my coin sitting right here. Boom. Merry Christmas to us.
I still haven't received mine, man. I'm actually kind of choked up.
Spoiler alert. You're getting a coin. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So we're both. So we have a majority of the ships. I got 280 boats sitting in my fucking port myself, right? So we got all these boats. Here's the deal. I have all the premiums that are in those goddamn boxes. I have them all. I have all the premiums that are in those damn boxes. So who cares? If I get a boat out there, guess what? Oh, I got a boat. Oh, it's the fucking hood. Fuck. It's good content, man.
I mean, yeah, that is true. But at the same time, you're
when I
shooting
got
yourself in the foot a little bit.
Like when I got that fucking Marblehead back, I'd sold it a week before. I got it in a super container, like the very next week. I was not excited about it. And it's just a regular super container. It wasn't even a Credmo box, man.
Oh,
all right, so let's talk inconsistencies in aircraft guns, and let's attribute this conversation while we dip into the Yashima, as it's got big, 20-inch guns. I think they said 510s. I believe that's 20 inches.
Yeah, it's the Super Yam. It's basically. Right. I don't know if you ever played Battle Stations Pacific or Midway.
No.
The Super Yamato in that game. It's basically based off of that 20.1. That thing. It's going to be nutty. They're 510s.
They're 510s. 6 guns, 2 on each turret, 3 turrets, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, when I heard that, and then there was a little blurb after that was going to have questionable accuracy, or not as good accuracy. I was like, okay, great. So this is just going to be a fucking tier 10 tank like a goddamn Gnizanu. Can't hit anything. When you do hit something, the guns are going to be so fucking big, they just overpin everything. So this is basically, you're whittling this down to, I am only a battleship shooter, because you're not going to be able to, A, be consistent on cruisers that are moving from any kind of range, and B, when you do actually fucking hit them, are you going to actually be able to knock their dick in the dirt? That is a problem for me. That is a problem for battleships right now, is the overpins. And I think that this is going to be the king. So, for that guy that I bitched and moaned at about telling me that, hey, you need to play IFHE fucking Yamato, and I told him he was an idiot, maybe that's the way we go now. Maybe let's just take honestly, our IFHE. Yeah. I was told that you need 700 plus millimeter guns to bust through 50 millimeters of armor. So even the bigger the guns that we get, we're still not able to slaughter these bow-in Stalingrads and Moskvas. And, even at 32 millimeters of like the Demonis and stuff, man, you still have a hard time. So what do we do? Where do we go? We can't overmatch them.
I think the Yashima, I mean, it's going to be an interesting concept, but I think they're trying to make a Japanese Ohio in this sense, where they said the Yashima is going to have better secondaries than normal, I believe. I think you also saw that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they also lowered it down they lowered the secondaries base from like 7 to like 6 or something, if I remember correctly. So to make it a little bit closer in action.
Yeah, so basically what I saw is like, you know what? I think we might have a Japanese Ohio on our hands. But with these 510s, that actually interests me because, it's going to actually focus this thing to be a battleship sniper, as you said. It's kind of almost feels like a one-trick pony, but I'm also very interested in seeing how well the HE performs. But with that being said, HE being used on this battleship, it's going to reinforce bad habits for a lot of battleship players who are going to continually shoot HE, and not just this boat maybe, or the British battleships, but they're going to take that trait and habit and take it across most of the battleships that are already in game. I've seen it more often than not, actually. Today, like recently, I've seen a ton of HE Montanas and Yamatos, and it's disturbing.
In all fairness, and I said this on a rant the other day in the channel, the game has gone a very sad pace since the British battleships came out. It's gotten steadily more and more, we're going to fire HE because people see that it's okay to fire HE in say, the Conqueror or the, whatever, any of the other boats in that line, that is the most efficient path for them to get damage in that particular battleship. So with nobody telling them that they're wrong in this, your AP has the potential to slaughter a cruiser and knock them out of the game if you slinging HE, your potential to do that in one shot is gone. Number one. Number two, if you're not able to put them down when you need to put them down, guess what? They stay the fuck alive. They continue to shoot. They continue to set fires. They continue to get damage, whittling down the rest of your team. So, where I agree on some, there is a time and a place for HE in every boat.
Mhm.
There is a time and a place for every boat to fire HE. It's not 100% of the time.
Oh yeah.
I have whittled it down to 80 to 90% AP in a majority of the battleships, and about 10 to 20% HE in a majority of them. The only ones that are different is about 60-40, 60 HE versus 40 AP in, say, the British.
The one caveat to that though is the Thunderer, because it does have the proper AP. I'd say it would be 60 AP, 40 HE for the Thunderer, simply because of that fact. Because you do get the battlefield dispersion, and you can slap people with that thing.
You can shit on them. All right, guys, we're hanging out with my man Virtual Senpai. You guys can hit him up over on his Twitter at Virtual Senpai, or over on his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Virtual Senpai. Right there, you can see it right under his name. Guys, this is episode 46 of the Across Your Bow podcast. We will do a Q&A session a little bit later on tonight. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything that we talked about, hey, if you guys are over on YouTube, go put it down into the bottom. Put it down in those comment section below, and I will get to those as soon as possible. If you guys are here actually in the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SirVenomIK, you guys can comment right there at SirVenomIK right there in the chat, and I will copy pasta those, and we will answer those questions at the end of the show. So there you go. That's kind of all much of the news. That's all we got to talk about for now. Let's move into some more news. I guess we got some more news here.
Oh yeah, hey Venom, guess what day it is today?
Today's my little girl's birthday.
There's that too, but it's also patch day.
It is patch day. Now, I didn't go into any details on the patches, but I'm assuming you have some things that you want to talk about. My little girl turned 11 today, so happy birthday to my little girl. Good news,
birthday,
the UK cruisers. Go ahead.
Little Venom Jr.
Yep.
Venomous Jr., I should say.
Well, her Lil Venom, Lil Venom is what she wanted to be called. We'll go with that. Or that, or it's Deku or Todoroki. I don't know. She's into My Hero Academia, so it's not a bad show. So not a bad show.
Wrong.
I've enjoyed it. All right, so the UK cruisers came out. Some module changes. Rank seasons coming up. Reset to double points. So let's just jump into the UK cruisers here. We'll just take the first topic that I have written down here. UK cruisers. First of all, give me your overall impression of the UK cruisers real quick.
Bland, like the food. To be quite honest. Okay. These things, they bring nothing new to the table, aside from the tier 9s and 10s with IFHE being able to pen Kremlins and virtually melt them down. Slow reload. They're basically just your standard HE spammer with a shorter range. Because stock, I believe the tier 10, the Goliath, has like 16.5 kilometers, unless you put the range mod on, which is put up to 19. Which, in this day and age, with how many cruisers are out there, it's abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal, because you get Hindenburgs that get spotted plane. Their stock range is like what, 18 something, I think, with reload
long.
module.
Pretty fucking long.
And then you get
the Zao.
You get the spotter plane on it, and then you have the Zao. There's so many cruisers that do its job but better. This line feels like an absolute waste. Waste of time and resources.
I found it pretty uneventful. They're very thick. They're very thick boats, so you do kind of penetrate them and citadel them off the board if you get caught broadside. They are relatively tanky if you bow up. I found their HE. It was okay. It wasn't too bad. I found their AP pretty fucking anemic. This boats remind me of the German boats, and let me tell you why. They're quasi tanky, just like the Germans are. Their HE on the Germans is terrible. It's awful. I'm sorry. I don't care how good the Hindenburg is. The HE on those boats are just trash. You see it on the DDs. You see it on the cruisers. It's bad. But their AP is really solid. So I see this as a fucking straight up 69 reverse angle fucking German boats, because their HE is good and their AP is kind of shit. Would you agree somewhat?
I am a bit wary on the points that you made with the HE, simply because like Hindenburg HE, it's not meant to have, like, you have the rate of fire now, especially with the Legion's captain in randoms, like to make up for that loss in alpha. Like, I'm looking at the Hindenburg right now. Its alpha is 2,500 for HE.
That's pretty bad.
Which is it's abysmal. But the thing is, though, you have 12 guns and you have a ridiculous amount of penetration. So
Yeah,
where
you got the
where something like the let's pull it up here, the Zhao, if I can click on it. The Zhao, it has, let's see, where is it? It's right here. It has a 3,400 alpha shell hit, which would be that's Citadel damage.
1.5.
It's 1.5 basically, but the pen on that thing is half.
Mm-hmm.
You get, without IFHE, the Zhao has 33 millimeters of pen, where you will get many more shatters on battleships with this ship than you will the Hindenburg.
Mm-hmm.
The Hindenburg with 66 mils of pen is unheard of, and it's more consistent. While it may be lower alpha, it does do more consistent damage. Now, going back to the point of the Goliath and the British heavy cruisers, like the AP, I've had some pretty chonky salvos. I've actually dev struck boosters with this thing,
mm-hmm.
simply because of the short fuse AP, like the British AP.
Is that why I find it's kind of shit? Is because it's short fuse?
It feels like it's short fuse. I don't know if it's 100% if the AP is short fuse, but it would not surprise me if it is.
I wonder what the fuse timer is now on that.
These things have an incredible sustain, because they do have that 3D printer on board, like the Conqueror. So they are pretty effective there. Looking at the heal right now, it heals for just over 1,400 per second, which is not. It's pretty good, honestly. But you only get 3 of these heals. So that's on the Goliath. But just looking at these things, there's, as I said earlier, the British cruisers are much like traditional British food, bland and tasteless.
Yeah, I had.
You have you have this ship, but there's so many other ships that can do the job, its specific jobs better.
Oh yeah, and if you're gonna play these, there's really no reason to play it. You can go play a Cleveland and do more damage and be more effective because you have better tools. I've got through and went and played the tier 6s or whatever the fuck that is, Devonshire, last night, and because I knew they were coming out today and I wanted to progress on it so I could just go immediately into tier 7. And my God, I did nothing, man. 30,000 damage, fired the entire game, 14.1 kilometer range on tier 6. It's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad. I was not impressed with the boat, not impressed with any of the lines. Only tested the Goliath, but I enjoyed the Goliath. I thought the Goliath was pretty reasonable amount of damage and pretty reasonable amount of range for a tier 10 cruiser. Of course, I tend to play it at more of island humpery type. I didn't really play at long range. So, and I had a couple of really good games where people were coming in at me very slow. Battleships, that's the bread and butter of these boats, I feel, is if you are having to 100%. Chase damage, you are not doing very much. But if they are coming at you, just like the Atlanta, just like the Smolensk, just like the Colbert, if they're coming at you, you can do a massive amount of damage very quickly.
Yes, precisely, because, the Goliath, it has such a high alpha damage. Let me just pull it up here. The shells they hit for this. Now this is incredibly high. These are 234 millimeter guns. So take in mind, chat, 3,850, and the fire chance is 25%. So 1 in 4. So technically speaking, on the spreadsheet, 1 in 4 shells will start a fire.
Now that leads me into another issue that I've been having with this game for a long time is, do you think that there's too much fire chance?
I definitely think that there has been much more emphasis on HE spam simply because I mean we've been beating this dead horse of the Smolensk and the Colbert
Yeah.
so unbelievably hard, and now we have things like the Marceau coming in, which is basically like a mini. It's a mini Colbert. Like I have clips of me and Potato Quality rushing down either the 9 or the 1 line, getting complete flank, and I'm in their spawn by probably 5 minutes in. And I never stop firing. This ship, like the ships like that, they need to stop. Like, and to quote my an internet meme lord, Filthy Frank, it's time to stop. Wargaming, it's time to stop.
Yeah. Since IFHE came out, and IFHE has caused more fires than it has prevented because you're getting more pins now. There is, and this IFHE came in 2 years ago.
Something like that.
Year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that. The fires, and I understand. I'm not trying to sit here and be a fucking battleship crybaby because I play everything, and I play DDs a lot. I play battleships a lot. I don't play too many cruisers, but the amount of fires that I'm on after IFHE versus the amount of fires that I was on before is completely different. It's doubled, almost tripled the amount of fires that you're being on. And for somebody who has my particular RNG, number one, I can't set fires for shit, but I'm on fire the entire time. They need to look at changing IFHE, which they are. Right, the IFHE changes are 50%. They're cutting 50% of the fire chance out instead of just 2 to 3%, which we all found out was meaningless. I'm hoping that this is a first step into seeing that maybe with that 50% fire chance reduction, me as a battleship, I can actually survive, and I actually might actually want to push into something. But is it really going to matter when you can fire off 12 guns every 2 seconds, or Smolensk is out there, or a Colbert's out there, or a Worcester's out there? There's a lot of HE spam coming from the cruisers because that's the only way that they can get damage. I understand.
Precisely.
Right. I understand being on fire. I get that because they got to get their damage too. But it's the most frustrating thing when you get hit for 3 fires. You hit your repair as you should, and then immediately, as soon as your timer's up and your immunity is up, you're immediately on 2 more fires. That is I'll sit there and I'll hit 100 fucking secondary hits on something, and they hit me with the very first volley of secondary hits, and they set me on fire. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so I'm hoping that if the fires continue, they look at changing some of the way the fire interacts with other boats, i.e., change up fire prevention, because I think it's kind of worthless when it doesn't actually prevent fires. You just pull one off. It's misworded very badly. Maybe they look at the diminishing returns on fires. If you burn for 100% on the very nose, well, the next time you get set on fire, you only burn for 50% or 25%, or some kind of progressive thing, because fires never kill the fucking ship. Period.
One thing I would kind of like to see is fires affecting ships, not taking like a set amount of damage, but a percentage of that ship's HP. So, for example, one fire takes 1% per tick, and that ticks every 3 to 4 seconds, something like that. But reworking fire prevention to where it literally takes you down to 3 fires, and it takes about 25% damage off each tick, because taking half of that's 0.5% per 2-3 seconds. That damage over time would be absolutely anemic, and that would force more people to go IFHE.
Here's my issue. Fire prevention only prevents 10% of the damage, right? Or 10% of the fire chance, right? But that doesn't mean you start out every shot, okay, you only have a 90% chance to shoot at me. No, it's 10% off of what's coming in at you, right? So if that Thunderer with 64% or 65% fire chance shoots at you, it is now 6.5% off of that, which is still over half. It's still over 50 fucking percent. So it's worthless. That 10% is stupid. Bump it up to 50 fucking percent. Bump it up to, ask for a 50% and settle for 20%, because that's really what we need. Just make it just a little bit more. Make it just a little bit more so these guys aren't on fire so much.
Or reducing duration. Have it reduce duration. So instead of having this fire, but have it instead you still take the same amount of fire damage. But say, for example, you have all these modules, you go into survivability expert, and then it reduces your let's say your the fire's duration by like another 20%, because, or like 15-20%, something like that. Because sure, you'll burn, you'll take the damage, but you'll be taking less fire damage because of a shorter duration.
I agree. Anything. I mean, like at this point in time, they're not going to do anything. They've already said that they're happy with the way that fire is interacting with battleships. So they're not going to do anything. So it's wishful thinking, and I know I've said this a lot here on the podcast and on the streams and repeatedly when I'm on fire 9 times a game or 12 times a game, or
plenty of gamer words are said.
Yeah. But yeah, anything. We just need anything, and I'm hoping that this IFHE change makes a difference, and maybe I'm not on fire so goddamn much, man, because it's gotten pretty fucking ridiculous, if you ask me.
Cautiously optimistic, my friend.
Yep.
I mean, I definitely think that this change is definitely needed. But because, I mean, to be honest, battleships have gone the way of the dodo. I rarely see 5 battleship games anymore.
Dude, let me tell you something, man. And people think I'm stupid or crazy for this, but Tier 7 and Tier 10 are a fucking no zone for fucking battleships, man. The cruisers at those tiers are so much stronger than every other battleship in that game. I don't care how good you think the Kremlin is. I don't care how good the Yamato is, or the Montana, or whatever your fucking favorite battleship is at Tier 10. They do not compare to a fucking cruiser at that tier. The balance of those tiers are shifted heavily into the favor of the cruisers, all because of that fucking fire chance. And you see it at 10 and you see it at 7. So when we're talking about balance, and then we go into a rank season, which comes up in 15 days, and I see Tier 7 and I see Tier 10, I really don't want to fucking play them because the cruisers are too good.
To be fair, Tier 10, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, as we said, we have the Worcester, we have the Smolensk, we have
Colbert.
We have the Colbert as well.
To a lesser extent, the Minotaur.
The Kleber, the Haragumo, the Minotaur. The Minotaur's AP. Like, sure, the angles are crazy. But the thing is, though, you're not burning from that. You can get away from that. You can angle to that, and you can saturate a bow. But the high DPM ships and the high fire chance ships, believe it or not, there are exceptions to this. But I actually did get I got a Wither in a Stalingrad, and that's just kind of disgusting. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is too much. There is too much high DPM, and while it's more painful for battleship players, I do think that the silver lining in this is teaching battleships to look at their maps, which not a lot of them do, and thinking, hey, you know what? Let's go push open water against a Smolensk and a Colbert sharing. That's not a smart thing to do.
Definitely not a smart thing to do. But here's the only thing, that when you do that and you're not making pushes, you get bitched at so much for being so fucking far back, dude. It's a lose-lose situation for battleships. If they push in there, they die, they get bitched at. If they sit back, oh, you're a camping piece of shit. So what do you do? What are you supposed to do? You go hide behind a fucking island, and you wait, and then you sit at max range, and you basically become a fucking big gun cruiser. And that's basically what's been going on in the last 2 years because of all the fires that are out there. The Minotaur that originally when it was tested had HE on it, but they said it was too strong, and yet then not half a year later or however long later it came out, the Worcester came out, and that's basically the same play style, same same particular capabilities. We get the Colbert that has the pretty close to the same fire rates. The Smolensk has pretty close to the same fire rates. Then we get all these DDs out there that shoot like crazy, and so it's a bad place for battleships. They can't push. And they can't.
And you know what the funny thing is? I just thought about this now. I think the smartest, the highest, maybe the highest like brain like skill level might actually require battleships positionally, because if you really think about it, you need to be you can't position very well, like you can't reposition very quickly. So therefore, you have to be thinking at least 6-7 steps ahead. Whereas with a cruiser and destroyer, it's like, oh, I'm in trouble. Okay, I'm just gonna turn away real quick, and then I'll drop off on my concealment. Battleships can't do that. So technically speaking, I think maybe the skill floor for battleships is a lot higher than we may think it is.
Uh, it's still it's high. I will agree with that. It's I think the progression of skill in this game goes DD's number one, cruisers number two, battleships, and then who gives a shit about carriers? They're not real people.
I kind of disagree with the destroyers, because I mean, like, if you look at it this way, how much skill does it take to shoot 15 torpedoes in a shimikaze? How much skill does it take down to hold the left mouse click button on something like the Tashkent, the Khabarovsk, or the Haragumo?
All right, now
I don't think it takes a lot of brain power to do that.
Let me throw this back in your face here. Let me redirect this. If you have shitty battleships, you can still win the game. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
If you have shitty destroyers, you're probably not going to win that game 70% of the time.
It depends on the rest of your team comp. For example, if you lose a destroyer right off the bat, I think it does. I think the team composition does matter, because technically speaking, if you do lose a destroyer, but you have cruiser players / radar ships that can make up for it, they can just as easily counter their destroyer and even the odds, therefore bringing your teams back to an even playing field.
Doesn't matter half the time.
I think it comes down to the average of skill across the entirety of your team, because sure, you can have a bad destroyer player. Everybody hates having a bad destroyer player, but everyone also hates having bad battleship players that don't allow their cruisers or destroyers to get into a position where they can actively attack the enemy team. So technically speaking, you need the battleships to tank. You need people to figure out positionally when and where to go.
But there you go.
But at the same time, like, I don't think that, like, destroyers, yes, it may have a slightly higher impact. I will give you that. But I don't think that the disparity between the two classes being potatoes is as big as we think it is.
I highly do. I will disagree. We'll agree on some points of this, but I'm overall I still think destroyers. A good destroyer player is worth more than a good battleship player, simply for the fact that he's going to go get the points when he needs to. He's not going to shoot when he doesn't need to shoot. He's gonna the area the deniabilities and stuff, and he's gonna keep you in the game while your battleships are fucking off doing shit, and maybe they get lucky eventually. That's my own personal beliefs. You see it. I see it a lot in ranked season. You can have really bad battleships and still win the games, but if you have really bad destroyers, you're probably just gonna fucking lose. So, either way,
I mean, I'm talking about a random standpoint, not a ranked competitive. Like, if your DDs are bad in ranked and competitive.
Hang on, I'm not talking about just that. I'm encompassing everything together, and then I separated ranked season definitely, and then randoms. I can see where you're coming from, and I get some of your point, and I agree. I agree partially to it, but I'm still going to hold firm to DDs.
I mean, I think I kind of got a little baited there, because I thought you were. No, hang on.
No, we're not debating it. We were talking about randoms at first, and then I threw the ranked in there as well.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like I got a bit of a curveball, because I thought we were still on randoms. That's the thing. If it's ranked, then I wholeheartedly agree that, like, in ranked, you need the spots. You need people getting that damage in. Because that's where I feel like I got a little debated, but that's it.
No. I originally was talking about ranks or randoms, and then I threw the ranked in there as at the end. So yeah. So don't feel debated, because we were on the same page until I threw that ranked in there.
Like, and we still are. Like, I definitely agree with that, because, like, if you lose spotting in a competitive game, you're essentially screwed, and you're going to need to rely on your radar ships to possibly equalize and hope that the enemy DD is a potato. Whereas in randoms, I mean, it's one ship out of 12 instead of one ship out of 7. There's also the weight of each loss, where in ranked and clan wars, you lose a ship, that's a huge blow to your team comp. Whereas if you lose one in a 12 man, okay, you know what? We may be 2-3 ships down. We can still come back from this. But once that disparity starts to balloon, then you're screwed.
Agreed. Speaking of ranked, ranked season starts in 15 days. It's tier 10 with carriers in arms race.
Biggest mistake I've ever seen in my life.
Carriers arms race in and of itself. The last time we had a ranked season that was arms race, it was tier 9. It was fucking fantastic. Absolutely enjoyed it. One of my most favorite ranked seasons I've ever played. But there was no carriers. Here's the reason why this is going to be a bad deal. The buffs on the ships do not attribute to the AA. That's right. The buffs on the ships that you're going to get, faster reloads, and all that other jazz that goes along with it, does not attribute to AA mounts. So, when the carrier team gets, your carriers get those buffs too. So they have the heals, they have the faster reloads, they have all this other shit. At some point in time, there's going to be, you're not going to be able to shoot down any of the fucking planes coming in because of their health regen is going to be so goddamn fast. Making unkillable fucking planes. So I think I think it's a terrible fucking rank season, and I'm other than needing like a couple of stars to finish out one of my achievements or accomplishment badges or whatever, I probably won't finish it.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go ahead and play carriers again, like I did that a couple other ranked seasons ago, where I specifically played hack just to prove a point.
No, hack is good. Hack is still probably the best one at tier 10.
Hack is definitely undisputed the best carrier at tier 10. And honestly, I think I might need to go back and play some more Hakuryu just to show Wargaming, hey, this is dumb. Stop doing this. Yeah. But then again, speaking of carriers, we our good friend as well as CC, Citizen Soldier 9, has been doing an experiment. He's been playing on the Russian servers, and he doesn't see very many carriers over there.
Yeah, that's so
that's he thinks this. So with that being said, and him doing that, I kind of want to do the same thing and see if we can actually confirm that they take most of their data from the Russian servers when implementing game mechanics into the worldwide servers. So it would make a lot of sense, because if you don't see a lot of carriers on the server that you are taking all your data from, then why nerf them worldwide, right?
I don't know.
It would make a lot of sense.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, we never really know where all their numbers are coming from. Never will we know where all
we know is the spreadsheet says we're having fun.
They are not. They're not very open anymore about those since that issue. But other than that, the numbers, the spreadsheets and numbers and things like that are not something that I enjoy messing with, because they only tell part of a story. They don't tell the entire story. And I think that spreadsheets and numbers only telling part of the story, they take that as gospel, and they end up missing half of the player base of what they're thinking. Because I can tell you right now, for the last year, we've been sitting there telling them that CVs are broken, CVs are stupid, AA's not good enough, or take your pick at what has gone wrong with the CV rework. I think personally, I want your opinion on it. Personally, I think the CV rework's a complete failure. But I mean, their goal was to get people to play it, and that's what they did. So let's read. Go ahead. I want you to read this. Read this little statement that they put out there in a non-NDA channel, so we can repeat it. Now, we talked about this a little bit last week. Or unless you want me to read it, because I got it right here.
I'm not sure. I don't know which statement you're speaking of. It's in our Discord channel, right?
Yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll read it, and then you can pay attention to this.
Yeah, go for it.
This statement we talked about last week just a little bit. I think is the quintessential. We don't care what you say. This is my attitude after I read this. Okay, so here you go. It says, on the whole, we think the interaction between CVs and destroyers is okay. First of all, the CV rework decreased the skill gap between skilled and unskilled CV players. Inexperienced DD players die quickly in battles even without CVs because they cannot get used to that class's gameplay features. So in the nearest future, we're not planning any major changes in that direction.
Oh, that was a certain somebody
Scroll back up.
who I will not mention.
Yeah.
Well, I'm reading it. I'm reading it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Majash actually tweeted it a little while ago.
Yeah.
But inexperienced like the whole comment about inexperienced DDs dying quickly in battles even without CVs, like, no, like, sure, like you can chalk up a random torpedo for like a player dying, but when you have a Unicum DD player getting a third of his HP chunked by Midway or Audacious rockets just because he can't just dodge forehead, that is completely asinine. Like, you can't say that CV interaction with players like that is fair. There's literally no counterplay. These ships don't have the AA suite to deal with rocket planes effectively, save for maybe the pan-European destroyers that are coming out soon, TM. That's about it. Like, this person, I think, in my opinion, when they mentioned this, were, for lack of better phrasing, talking out of their ass. And I wholly disagree with this statement.
Oh, I totally disagree with it as well. I don't think that they were talking out of their ass. I think they were legit. That's fucking Wargaming's opinion on it. And I think that that's scary because they don't see that it's a fucking problem. I mean, I know us community contributors, and we only make up a fraction of a percentage of the fucking player base. But when 70 to 80% of us are all saying the same fucking thing, yo, this is wrong. This is not good. This is wrong. They need to step up and listen. It's like, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. Do you know the only reason the German battleships got a buff at all? Do you know the only reason why?
Do explain. I think I know the reason, but please refresh my memory.
All right. So some of the developers were on stream one day, and somebody was like, "Oh, what do you guys want us to play?" And they said, "Play the Scharnhorst." And the Scharnhorst is still German, and it still has sometimes rough accuracy. Let's just want to put it mildly. And they was like, "Wow, this shouldn't be like that." And then they went and played the Gneisenu, and they was like, "Wow, this is really bad." And then about a week and a half later, we have words of saying, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and buff the German battleships." So it's like I'll be honest with you, how long have the German battleships been out? That was I tell you, it's been at least 3.5 years.
Third battleship line, baby.
It was my first line release after I started playing, was the German battleships. So it's been, and I've been wholeheartedly bitching about the accuracy on these boats for a good 2 years, 3 years, and they're just 3 years on. They're just now making a difference, making a change to try to make this thing better. That people are like, oh well, the damages are okay. This is what goes back to that spreadsheet. They miss a whole lot of stuff on this fucking spreadsheet. Now I had Stats Bloke here on the podcast one day, and he was all about that spreadsheet. I was like, no, the spreadsheets don't tell the whole story, brother. He was like, oh yeah,
there's two versions of CCs. There's the data driven CCs and there's the feel CCs.
I'm a feels guy.
You can't have exactly. I'm a bit of both. Like, I can understand where the data comes from,
yeah.
But when something doesn't, like, if on paper, like, it's supposed to be okay, but in practice it's not. That's when you have an issue. You need both to be positive experiences. And that's what makes me want to do this. Just open up my flask and
drink it up. What is that maple syrup you got in there?
Oh yeah, it's the
Vermont
maple syrup. Mm-hmm. But like, it's honestly the shit like this that makes me want to like drink, because it's just so unfortunate to watch this shit happen in front of our eyes.
It's
like we tell them, and it's like, the spreadsheet says.
When we were testing the Ohio, I got into it with another CC. I'm not going to call him out because that would probably look bad on him, because I didn't agree with his position 100%. I didn't agree with it. He was telling me that the Ohio and the Montana perform exactly the same, and I was like, no, they don't. No, they don't. You're an idiot. They do not perform the same. And I was trying to tell him, I was like, what are you talking about? We're talking about 12 guns versus 8 guns. It's like, oh yeah, maybe you played exactly the same. I was like, no, No, you can't. They're two different play styles. They're two completely different play styles. Montana does good at this range. Ohio's better up close. That is the differences between them. You cannot compare what you're going to do in the Ohio at 10 kilometers versus what you're going to do in the Montana at 10 kilometers. Right? It's a little bit different from each other. Now, we go into 4 kilometers. The Ohio's going to beat the shit out of everything. Right? Montana's good, but it's not as good as the Ohio at 4 kilometers. Let's go out to 15 kilometers. I'll take the Montana every day.
Pretty much. It still has the technical highest alpha strike in the game.
There you go. It is two completely different play styles. And he was like, look, and he took a screenshot of the Montana stats and the Ohio stats and circled these stats on the actual page itself. And then he put them together, and then he put them out there, and he said, look, these things are the same. They should perform the same. And I was like, you are an idiot, because have you actually played these fucking boats? Because they do not feel the fucking same. And he was like, oh, you're one of those feels guys. And I was like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Venom, may I?
Go.
He said they should perform the same, but they don't. This is why you need a healthy balance of feel and data. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So hang on, there's a chopper's coming in. It must be medevac or something coming in. I can hear him going over my house. The hospital's that way, about a mile and a half. So anyway. So I think that Wargaming misses out on a lot of it. They need those feels guys to come in there and tell them, no, your fucking stats are stupid. Go out there and fucking play 10 games in the Smolensk, and then go out there and play 20 games, because, God damn it, you might not get a whole lot of Smolensk in the game while you're playing as a fucking battlesuit. It's miserable. It's the most dejecting, it's the most demoralizing thing to do when you're, I don't know where this guy is, and here comes just a stream of fucking fiery piss over the fucking island at you that does not stop until you're dead.
And doesn't this also go back to the fact that the devs don't actually play this game? Now, I'm pretty sure is that a truth? I can't recall.
That's not necessarily the truth. I know that there's some people out there that we've I believe it was Kami that told us, and I think Earl had said it too, that they're required to play a certain amount of games a week in the game, but it could be co-op, it could be only operations, it could be really low tiers. So I don't put a whole lot of trust in that for them to actually get in it. But motherfucker, we played 14,000 games. I know you've played quite a bit of games yourself, and you're playing anywhere from
like last month,
right? Anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, or however long you do your shows for. That's over at twitch.tv/viirtualsenpai or at viirtualsenpai over on the Twitter. If you're playing that length of time, you're starting to see more about the game that the developers can see, and you're seeing things that developers miss because they rely wholly and majority, I wouldn't say solely, on numbers, because there is some opportunities for us to give feedback. Now, will they accept that feedback or just tell us, well, we don't care? We don't care what you think. This is the way it's going to be.
I just don't feel like they listen to us at all, and they're so tone deaf to their own game. Like the fact that you said that they could play in operations and co-op means they have no technical grasp.
No. Here, let me. I don't know their limitations. Is what I was getting at. Could they play it in co-op? Could they play? I don't know their limitations. I never really went into detail about it, but I do know a majority of the people that we deal with, do play quite a bit, and it's very disheartening, and it's very frustrating when you give a particular set of feedback. Hey, the DD interaction with CVs is atrocious, and it needs to be fixed. Where do you guys see that this is okay? Where do you guys see that this is legit? And they were like, well, it's fine, period. Because
it's clearly not.
But let's take another look at this statement here real quick. And there's a line in here that really frustrated the shit out of me. And I was like, okay. First of all, the CV rework decreased the gap between skilled and unskilled CV players. They did nothing. All right, so here's what they did. Here's what they did to decrease that gap. As we all know, in the RTS style, you could literally shut down shut down the enemy CV. You could fly a strafe right through his fucking planes, and they would have no planes for the rest of the game. You would, if it was a midway and you were in a hack and you could fly right through that shit and slaughter all of his fucking planes. He didn't have any. They legit pulled that aspect of the game completely out. So not only did they decrease the gap, they slaughtered the gap. There is no gap between skilled and unskilled CV players anymore. There is none, because there is very minimalistic counterplay. And that's some shitty-ass fighters that you drop that don't go where they need to go when they need to do it. So it's a bullshit fucking reason. We decreased. No, there is no gap anymore. It doesn't matter. You have zero impact on what that guy's doing. He's going to go out there and do whatever the fuck he wants to the entire game, senpai. You're going to go out there and do whatever you fucking want in the entire game, and the only thing you had to do is every once in a while go around and drop a goddamn fighter. There is no counterplay in CVs anymore, which I think is detrimental to the CV gameplay. Now it's just become, let's go farm some fucking damage.
I mean, that's what I think now. Like, I even did it, like, on Sunday. I got mad and said, you know what? I'm going to go play my Audacious and farm people because these people just can't win games. So I may as well have fun with it, right? And I was even screaming at the DD interaction. I took 2 rocket strikes in an Akazuki and put him down to 2k HP. Because I basically hit him with every rocket in the strike. And that kind of interaction is bad. And the disparity, like, there is, like, I will give it to them that there was disparity between skilled and unskilled CV players, but now it's just like anyone can point and click adventure. It's it's literally feels like playing mobile arty. It's disgusting.
All right, so let's go just a little bit further. Let's take a little bit further. AA is ridiculous. Number one, it's all minimalized now. You have AA that only starts shooting on something that was 7.2 kilometers. Let's just take the Atlanta, for example, 7 kilometers plus, down to 5.4 kilometers. That's not enough time to shoot anything down. And these AA boats that they were built and they were sold, this is a good AA boat. The Atlanta is now a mediocre at best. It's not even average anymore. It's a terrible AA boat. The Demonis. Still, the Demonis was a fucking phenomenal AA boat. Not so much anymore. They're like literally the best AA boat in the game right now is the goddamn DD. The Friesland.
Oh, yeah. And then maybe if you AA spec it, maybe, and this is ironic as all hell, Smolensk.
Yeah, that's true.
Simply because of those dual purpose guns.
Yeah, the Texas.
And it's really... What really ticks me off, though, is that the Des Moines, it should still have great AA because those auto-loading 3-inch guns, they shred, historically, they shred planes. In the early stages of the game, they shredded planes. Now what do? Nothing. They just look pretty. They look pretty. That's it.
All right, so there's a lot of other things that we could talk about CVs, and this isn't the topic of this, but we'll go into a couple more little minor areas that I see as an issue, unless there's some areas that you want to talk about as well. Some of these areas that I think are an issue is the AA mounts themselves. Throughout this game, and we saw the newest quote nerf to the Kremlin was they reduced the health of the AA mounts in half. Okay, well. I don't know about you guys, but when I get flung on with HE or I fling HE on a battleship, you see that little 12. I've broken 12 fucking AA mounts. Why are these things not regenning my health when they have regenning unlimited fucking planes? And don't give me that crap about, if they get their shit shot down, then they don't have unlimited planes. That's as easy as putting a fucking button down, dropping one in the drink right as you launch, and then now you'll never lose your entire fucking squadron. So don't give me that crap about, technically you do have limited amount of play. Yeah, fuck off. Get rid of that shit. So here's a solution. 150 planes, 175 planes at tier 10, and then taper it down because we have literally shot down 92 plus planes 92 plus planes, and that I had 40 of them myself in my Fletcher the other day. 92 plus planes at a tier 8, and he still had full squadrons. Every squadron was full after 92 planes at the end of the game.
Now, part of that is also thinking, did he drop fighters above you? As a DD player, as a DD in that game, did he drop fighters above you?
No, there was no fighters above me. He wasn't a good CB player. Let's put it that way. Because if he's losing 40 planes to me as a destroyer, he's not a very good player.
Mm-hmm. Because also those numbers could potentially be inflated by dropping fighters. Like, for example, the Enterprise drops 10 fighters per thing. So technically speaking, a lot of those planes shot down might be a placebo effect. That's why I think we need a different ribbon for fighters and attack craft.
I think that would go a long way to helping out alleviate some of this as well.
Because like you can go into a game and have someone shoot down 120 planes, for example, but like half of those could be fighters, and the person could still be sending out full squadrons. That's where the data it's not detailed enough. Like the numbers, quote unquote, the numbers aren't detailed enough, and therefore don't give us a full story.
Agreed. So the next thing. Well, before I go into my next thing, you got anything that you want to talk about this real quick?
Honestly, though, the CV to DD interaction, just overall, just reiterating this, it needs a change because, like, with the person at Wargaming saying this that they have no plan, it clearly feels like one, they don't play the same game that we're playing, and it's a slap to the face of not only us but every single person who has whined and bitched about CVs throughout the entirety of their rebirth, quote unquote, in 8.0, and it doesn't feel like they're respecting us as community contributors or respecting the players as their own community.
They're listening to the feedback, but they're just like, yeah, well, we don't care about your feedback.
They're like, yeah, we really care. Fuck off. That's what they're saying.
I don't think that they're going that far. It feels that way when you come up with a very nice and you articulate it right and you type out this big long thing about feedback or questions to the developers or anything like that, and they basically say, well, this has been brought up before and we still don't see a reason to fucking change it. It's like, okay, how else can I type it up to let you guys know that this is jacked up, that this is not fair, it is by no means balanced, and in fact, bring back fucking Battleship AP versus destroyers. Fuck them. Rockets do too much damage. SAP's fucking bullshit. Knocks them off the goddamn board. Why not everything else?
I mean, to be fair, DDs are hanging on by a thread right now, and if we snip that thread,
they don't give a shit, man. They don't give a shit. Look at it, man. Rockets do way too much damage. SAP is a fucking failure and a joke, and they slaughter DDs all the time. Why not fucking Battleships 2, man? Why not Battleships 2? It's absolutely crazy.
I mean,
so either way, I'm just saying, bring it back. Bring back my AP, man, on the Battleships, dude.
But I don't know about bringing it back, but maybe increasing the damage.
Bring it back. 10%. Dude, I'd be happy. Double the fucking damage. I'd be happy with something, And
I agree with that. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
With something, anything, man. All right. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's move on out of there. Bottom line, last minute thoughts on CV versus DD interaction in that statement before we move on into the next thing.
Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna get real close to the camera for this one. Wargaming, change this shit. You're killing your game. Stop going by numbers and listen to the community contributors and your community. Thank you.
There you go, boys. He said it. I don't know how else the way to put it other than be careful out there, guys. Your AA is not going to do enough, and he's going to have unlimited planes, and he's going to have full planes at the very end, even if you shoot down 100 plus. All right, moving on. Not to mention the Enterprise has way too many planes in a squad. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Last thing. The biggest problem that I have with carriers is they're completely 100% maximally effective every drop. Maximum effectiveness, maximum potential damage every drop. Here's what I mean, Senpai. Say you got 5 planes in a squad, right?
Okay.
Or 5 planes in a squad. 2 of those are the actual squadron itself, or the actual flight that's going to go out there and attack your ship. Okay? You shoot down one plane, guess what? You're still maximum damage potential. You shoot down a second plane, you're still maximum damage potential. You have to shoot down 4 planes before you even dip into its maximum fucking potential damage. So right. So I think this is also another thing that AA doesn't really feel like it does anything, is because I have to shoot down 4 planes before I affect his fucking drop. And now when you're going in at something of the Enterprise that has 12 planes of fucking squadron and 4, I have to shoot down 8 before I can even touch his maximum potential damage. So I think that is a terrible thing for AA, and it doesn't matter. You just throw them out there because you're a smart guy and you probably ditched one anyway. So you're using these as sacrificial lambs just so you can get your maximum potential damage off on that guy.
Now, what they're doing there is I think they want to make sure that CVs can get consistent. This is the wargaming thought process. Right. So not mine, because I mean it's been thought about. Like, they want to make sure that CVs, like any other ship, quote unquote, can get consistent damage.
All right. So they fuck everybody else just so they can make these people that were shitty at fucking carriers to begin with and refuse to fucking learn how to be a good carrier player. They're like, okay, well, let's just dumb the game down enough to where these idiots over here can actually feel like they're doing something in their carriers. So fuck everybody else. This is what's going to happen, and that's what they did. And it pains me because I busted my ass to learn how to play this game, Senpai. You busted your ass to learn how to play this game, but these people refuse to put out any kind of effort to learn the fucking game. and they bitch and moan and they change things to facilitate these people that are shitty fucking players. It's beyond me.
Because wargaming thinks like a business, not like they think for a Russian run company. Now this is gonna sound really memey. For a Russian run company, they think a lot about profits.
Oh yeah.
Like if you really think about it, they're running it like a company, and they want to cater to their larger cash cow, which are the 48%, like the 40%ers that want to spend. Like literally, I've seen spend on nothing but the Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I've seen accounts like this where they have 50 games played. And you look at their warship stats on WoW's numbers, and it says nothing under the new ship except new ship Puerto Rico, and you're like, bruh,
you have no games played. All 10 games you've played are in the Puerto Rico. Period. That's it. Here's the deal. There's 2 different types of whales. There's the whales like Timmy G, who knows how to play the game and has played countless times. Hey Timmy, what's up, boy? I love you. Come back and play with me again. And then you have those guys that don't play the game and they just buy their way up and they have no clue of what's going on and they are a detriment every game to every team that they're a part of. Those are the 2 different ones. But let's talk about profitability. Have you guys seen the bullshit that they've done lately? And I'm sorry, if anybody from Wargaming's watching, man, I think this is gambling. I think it's terrible. I know you guys are making a fucking bank off of it, but you are addicting children to this. And anytime that they put gambling in games, Madden Ultimate Team, that is a gamble. They're getting people accordingly early because they are playing on that addictive behavior. Gambling is very addictive. When you have 64 things that you can get out of this fucking box for 1,000 goddamn doubloons, y'all know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And here's 1,000 doubloons. Oh, we'll show you what's next. Here's 1,000 doubloons. We'll show you what's next. And it's never anything. My RNG says I should never gamble ever again. Some people's RNG is a lot better than mine, and I think that what the way that they are introducing new lines with these events, I like the original events. The original events when they had the directives, and after you got done with all those directives, yes, they're pretty hard, but once you got them done, you were able to accomplish that, and you got whatever was slated for that reward. Now I'm buying these rewards, and I have to buy these rewards to even get these ships. because they're not giving you enough of these fucking royal tokens out of doing it for free. Now I have to go in and buy these things to get these doodads. I'm sorry, but you guys have been trying to monetize the game just a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much, and it's getting a little bit overboard, and it's getting ridiculous. At every time we come out, it used to be every time a new patch hit, we had a new fucking loot box. Go buy this crate. Go buy that crate. You remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. But at the same time, you know what? At least it's not like Overwatch where like you don't know what's coming next. But then again, Overwatch only gives you cosmetics.
Yep.
That's for people who want the cosmetics. And I think that's what wargaming should start doing. Like, sure, you can do all these like these free access or like these pre-access things. But in reality, just do cosmetics. People will still buy things as long as it doesn't affect their like actual gameplay.
Well, herein lies the rub, Senpai. They're doing all this gambling nonsense, and that last one that we had was straight up gamble, because you had 4 boats that you could get out of this, and the only way to get them is to A, buy it with doubloons, or B, use them tokens. Well, guess what? If you have shitty RNG, you're not getting dick. Yep. With these tokens unless you're using it. So no, I think it's bullshit. Number one, that's the first part of it. Number two, they've tied 80% of their fucking content for a brand new line into this gamble. Quit giving away half of the fucking line. Take it back, dude. This next one, dude, you're gonna be able to get tier 9 out of this next one. So drop it down to tier 2, 3, 4. Don't go over tier 5 max. Giving it away. Force these people, A, to play the game, or B, free XP the shit out of it. Because I know several people that have millions of free XP just sitting there waiting for the next line to come out so they can go, bloop, and I'm at tier 10.
I agree there, but I think the max should be 6 because I think 6 is kind of the maturity tier, in my opinion, because that's where you truly get the feel for what a boat is. Like, for example, like Emeralds back in the day when like when the Royal Navy light cruisers were released, you literally got popped. And Leander was where you really started to learn how the line worked.
Well, the game at tier 5, the game at tier 4 and below doesn't matter because once you hit tier 5, the game changes. Mm-hmm. Tier 5 is the start of the I need to learn what this line of boats are about. Tier 5 at the Japanese plays exactly like the Zhao. The Tier 5 German plays exactly like the Hindenburg. Long-range AT spammers, use your AP when you're on broadsides, and then maybe if you have to push, you could start pushing in the York. Period. Mm. Tier 5 through tier 10 on those two particular lines, and even the French line at tier 5, not so much at tier 5, but you get the point. They all play the same. They're pretty consistent all the way up. The Italian cruisers are pretty consistent. So yes, 5, 6, I don't care, but quit giving away 3/4 of the fucking line. Quit giving away 80% of it. Quit giving away fucking 90% of it. And then forcing people to go back in and they're tying this all in because they want the research bureau. They want the research bureau to be a fucking thing. They want people to reset their lines and go back and play these ships that they didn't play before. Fine. We can do all this. We can have all of this. But now you have monetized this tier 8 that you're giving away. And it's very detrimental to the player base. I don't want to fucking spend money on this game anymore. I know you don't. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't want to fucking spend money on this game anymore. When you get the Omaha, you just cry because everybody knows that boat's terrible.
Yeah. PQ made me play it. PQ made me play it last weekend, and I literally wanted to commit scooter ankle. I wanted to do some Sudoku puzzles.
I won't play it unless they pay me $5. That's the limit, man. I've drawn the line. Marblehead, Mermaidsk, fucking Omaha, all that shit, guys. If y'all want to force me to pay it, ! Trash. Those are all the trash boats that I don't like to play, but I will if you pay me.
I mean, that's what I had. That's what I did for the ! PADD with me. So like I had people make me do a Pan Asian DD gauntlet. So I basically told them, you want to make me do it? Tier 2 sub or 1,000 bits, and I will play a Radar Yu Yang. I will play the Sen Yang, and I will do it.
God, Sydney Yank's so bad. Anyway,
Dude, it's the worst destroyer in the game.
it's pretty bad. Although I do have a Solar Warrior in that motherfucker. That was my first
Ballsy.
one I ever got was Solar Warrior in that. All right, so we just talked about the Research Bureau. Last minute thoughts. I think that they're monetizing the game just a little bit overly monetization or overly monetizing the game. There you go. To the game's detriment. We're already buying all the premium ships. We're buying them for $70, $80, $100. We just had this big fiasco with the fucking Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah. And they are in the business of making money, and they have been very adamant about making money and for fucking gameplay sacrifices. I don't like it. All right, what are your thoughts?
They're kind of like I feel like the average player is overwhelmed and that they have it's like shoved straight in their face, whereas it should be like, you know what? It should be like receiving a like you go to a fancy party and there's waiters walking around and it should be like, sir, champagne. And you can say, "Oh no, thank you." Not like, "Hey, have some champagne." That sort of deal.
Yeah, they
like
definitely shove it
the
in your face.
monetization is shoved in your face. It's like getting off a plane at a tropical location and having all these businessmen running up to you trying to sell you a timeshare.
Have a timeshare. Speaking of timeshare,
Here, buy a timeshare.
I just got a rental Arizona for 7 days on my sub account.
Arizona isn't bad.
No,
but
it's
still.
good. I still like it. All right, so Research Bureau resets in 4 days for double, or 4 or 5 days for double the experience. So if you guys are close, if y'all need 20,000 to get your Ohio or Colbert, whatever the fuck you guys are going for, now the reset time, you guys can reset a boat now, which I did, and then I will reset another line here in 4 days. And then once I get done with those lines, I will be having my Ohio for one reason or another, and that will be a $5 gameplay because I don't want to play it. Either way. That's February 17th, so that's 5 days from now. ARP ships just went away. You had an opportunity if you guys didn't get them in the previous iterations of them last year, 2 years ago. You were able to get a few of them this time. All I can say is, okay, good. Thanks for the free fucking captains because those were an easy grind. What are your thoughts?
I didn't really pay attention to the ARP ships because I already had them.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is one thing that I'm kind of choked up about. I wanted the black and red Arctic-Cow skin.
I wasn't paying for it.
But I'm definitely wasn't paying for it. So I'm going to ask, hey, can we get these assigned to our accounts because we had the ships? Because it's a little ridiculous that we didn't get them. What? And I would think that there should have been a way to grind it out, like something that was not quite the nightmare that was the Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico-esque.
These things were easy to grind, but 30 torpedo hits, 30 fires, a whole bunch of captain experience.
The ships were.
They were kind of rough. They weren't necessarily hard, but they were definitely time consuming. And some of these I did, dip into co-op to finish up a couple of these, just trying to get it done as quickly as possible. But then I go into a Benham and hit 16 torpedoes and I'm done. So whatever.
I just wish we had the other camo because honestly, I wanted the black and red one. That one looks
the black
really
and
cool.
red. The black and red one looks legit. Upcoming line chatter is what we're going to go talk into next. Pan-European DDs.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry, I'm reading my outline here for the episode. This is the only episode, Virtual Senpai, that I've ever done an outline for because there was so much shit to get to. All right,
so be prepared, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to forget anything that I want to talk about because I've forgotten about a lot of shit that I wanted to talk about the last couple of times I've done the podcast, so I wrote it down this time. All right, so here we go. Pan-European DDs. I'm going to go off on the limb and say their Tier 6 is fine. I thought Tier 6 was fantastic with 6 guns. With 6 guns, you can actually defend yourself and you can actually shoot back at people. Once you take off that second gun, the guns just become kind of second thought, and you're just a torpedo boat with decent AA at Tier 8, 9, and 10. Really good AA at 10, by the way, and really fast torpedoes. Pretty quick reloads, very low damaging. So if you guys have never played these or haven't seen anybody play it, myself or Virtual Senpai over at twitch.tv/Virtual Senpai or at Virtual Senpai over on the Twitter, you understand if you've ever played a Low Yang, the Low Yang Peds hit for dick. They are probably some of the weakest torpedoes that I've ever seen. This is the same amount of damage that you're going to get. I think it's like 10 grand or something like that, max damage at tier 10. I don't remember offhand, but it's very low. So
10K, yeah.
15 kilometers, 9 and 10, 86 knots.
They're lasers. They're quite literally warp speed torpedoes.
76 knots at 10. 7 and 8. 76 knots, and they go. I think they said 12 kilometers, and then 10 kilometers at 6 and 7, 5 and 6, and they go 60 some odd knots. For low damage.
I think that these are going to be very interesting, but the way the mid tiers interact with carriers, I think they are going to be dead on arrival. But the 9 and 10, they have a chance.
9 and 10 has a chance. I don't think that these are. I don't think that these are worth a shit in rank season. Simply for the same reason that I don't think that the Benham is worth a shit in rank season. They just can't defend themselves if they get into a gun battle. If their torpedoes are down, you're pretty much doing nothing.
Pretty much, but the 9s and 10s, oof. The rate of fire you just can't say no to.
No,
you just simply can't say no to them.
No, I mean they're not awful. I'm not telling anybody to not play these things. I'm going to play them. I like them. I think they were relatively enjoyable to play and relatively enjoyable to test. Of the testing boats that I played, I've skipped most of the cruisers out there because I don't give a shit about them. They're going to be a little bit broken one way or another, on the strong side or on the weak side. So I didn't care about the UK heavy cruisers. So I only tested the Goliath, and that was it. Legit. That's the only one I tested. As for the pan-European DDs, I love these things. I love testing these because it is a brand new mechanic that we haven't seen yet. Small Land I thought was kind of shit. That's a new boat that's coming out.
The premium one, right?
Yeah, the premium one. As for when they're going to release, we're just now releasing the UK cruisers. That probably got another month or so before those are ready. And then there's something coming after that we'll talk about here in just a minute. What you guys can see already, the Russian connection here is the topic for the Russian cruisers coming up. So, all right. What are your thoughts? Though. Give me some words.
Now, at first, I used to think that the CVDD interaction that we usually see would make these destroyers dead on arrival. However, after playing the Holland, I looked at DD interaction with those who have defensive fire, and I noticed that if I only used my DFA and sectoring on rocket planes, which have a lower HP, as well as they can't repair, I walk away from rocket attacks with more HP than I usually do, and if I get touched at all.
Right.
So these things, I learned something about my DD play. It's like, you know what? Only turn on your defensive fire for rocket attacks. Who cares about bombers and torpedo planes? You can outrun those. You can dodge those. But I think that the Holland, with its defensive fire and its longevity in how it's built, I think could be a real good pick. I think the public are really going to enjoy these DDs. I know there's already talk of competitive about using them because of the amount of torpedoes you can throw out and how undodgeable they are.
Torpedo DPM. All right, so guys, if you have any questions, man, at ServantMIK, at Virtual Senpai, right here in the chat, and we'll get to those toward the Q&A session at the end of the show. If you guys are over on YouTube, well, come on over, man. Twitch.tv/ServantMIK, man. At Sir_Venom_IK. You guys could come over here and have a live conversation with me on the Twitch channel, or go over to Senpai's Twitch and go have a live conversation with him. But if you guys have any questions that y'all want me to answer or want Senpai does to discuss a little bit about, at ServantMIK right here in the chat, and I will get to those. I will get to those answers toward the end of the show. Overall, I found them enjoyable. I found them fun to play. I don't think that they'll be good in rank seasons. strictly for the gunpowder. If I am in this boat and I have a 52, I'm going to be deathly afraid of that 52 because these things do take quite a bit of damage.
They do take a bit of damage, but I think the Holland gun DPM is actually incredible. It reminds me of Friesland.
Well, that's fine, but it's only 4 guns, and on double turrets, and the battleship accuracy applies. You know, I mean, it's not necessarily battleship accuracy, but the same concept of if you're setting up for full AA, you can't take that aiming mod, so you're going to be questionable. And I'd rather have 6 guns versus 4 guns. That's for sure. So
I mean,
either
the
way,
thing is though,
it's not going to beat a
guns, they
daring.
pump out
It's
a
not
ton
going
of
to beat,
shells.
you know, it might beat a Gearing, but I mean, it's not going to beat a daring. It's not going to beat a Kitakaze. It's not going to beat a Harry Gumbo. These things just out
I
DPM
think
the shit out of it.
it's definitely not going to beat a Haragumo, but I do think it could be. It could, depending on the player, it could beat a Daring. It also could potentially beat a Kitakaze. That one will be a very close fight, in my opinion. Z52, I think it could kill that simply because it has the longevity. And even though the Z52 does have Hydro, I think the torpedoes are a little too quick sometimes to manage. If you don't expect the torpedoes, those things are going to be on you like white on rice.
They're gonna be on you quick, man. We're not talking about slow torpedoes, man. We're not talking no 43 knot black torpedoes. We're talking about what's the fastest torp in the game right now? Shimakaze F3s with that
With
go
Torpix, which is like 76.
76.
And these are like there's like a whole 10, 15 knots over
They're
that.
10 knots faster. So holy shit, those things are quick, man. It'll be rough. It'll definitely be rough. All right, so there you go. They're pan-European DDs. Look for that. I don't know, maybe a month, 2 months away, something like that. I don't know when they're coming out. Nobody does yet. All right. So there you go, boys. That's everything. That's all the news. That's everything we wanted to talk about. Let's jump into our main topic of the night: the Russian connection. Now these are. I'm going to put up a photo here underneath as a Russian line split is happening. Now, I want to tell you all about the Russian line split that's happening first, and then we'll go into some detail about these ships and their potentials of good or bad. Now, right here below me, here we go. Here's the Russian line split tree, starting and I actually have that right here, so I'm going to pull this up. Do I want to open this link? Yes, I do. All right, starting at we're going to have the same first 4 boats: Orland, the Novik, the Bowgator, and the Slutty Lanya. They're at tier 4. Then the Kirov is going to be removed and go into a premium ship. So if you guys have the ability to get the Kirov, get it right now because that's going to be a free premium for you later on if you have it. So if you don't have it, go back there and fucking buy it, man, because they're 180 millimeters. Now, we're going to get a replacement boat called the Koto V Sky. I don't know if I can know how to say it because I'm English and I don't speak Russian. So either way, Kotovsky, whatever the fuck it is, 152 millimeter guns. Moving into the Bajoni, then the shores, at the shores the line splits. You will continue to go up the Chappie line at the 180s, Donskoy's at 180s, and then we have Alexander Nevsky, tier 10, will take place of the Moskva. The Moskva is now going to come out of the line, and go into the coal area. Now, according to this, it doesn't look like it's going to be a premium fucking ship.
I think it will technically be a premium. I think they're just doing
premiums.
I'm thinking they just made it have like the white ship background because it's still technically a line ship. I think they will move that over to being a premium. Also, one thing, actually, I think a couple things. Let me see. I'm just gonna confirm this, but look at the spelling on Chapayev on the tier 8. It's actually misspelled. It's supposed to be Chapayev. So Wargaming, get your shit together. And they misspelled Donskoy. They misspelled Donskoy as well.
It's their own language. I don't know how you misspell it. Of course, I misspell English words all the time. Either way, Chappie, 180 millimeters, I believe. Donskoy's definitely 180s. Alexander Nevsky, I believe, is also going to be 180 millimeters. Let me see. Just confirming this. Why is this a Reddit thing? I do not know. Reddit is such a monstrous. All right. Well, I don't
Cesspool.
have it up here. So, do you have the? Do you have the link? Let me go. Let me.
Let me
I
take a
thought I linked
look.
it to you, but I guess no. I
I
only
think
linked you this video.
it might be in our announcements. I'll take a quick look there to see if it's there.
Anyway, their idea for this line is to keep everything between 180 millimeters and 152. So you're effectively getting a light cruiser line and a heavy cruiser line. Now the heavy cruiser line splits off of the shores and goes through called the Talon, the Riga, and the Peter Pavlovsky or whatever the fuck that is. I don't know how to read it. It's words. Either way, those are going to be heavier cruisers. 220 millimeters, I believe, is the big guns on there at tier 10. Relatively short range, very inaccurate at range, but very good at up close. 12-kilometer radars, just a whole bunch of annoying little shits.
Honestly, like this news, for lack of better phrasing, it kind of ticks me off because they're going in and bringing these paper ships, and they are completely ignoring nations that had completely full navies. Like for example, like we're still missing a British battlecruiser line. We're still missing an Italian destroyer line. We're still missing an Italian battleship line. We're missing alternatives to the US destroyer line. We're also missing Japanese light cruisers. We're missing the Agano classes and all of those. We're missing so many ships. Hell, even for the Europeans, we're missing De Ruyter. We're missing the Dutch. There are so many historical ships that have actually sailed, fought, and sank, and we're still missing those. And now they're adding paper ships. Like, come on, Wargaming. You know what we want. We know you're a Russian company, but look at the majority of your player base.
I think I don't have a problem with that. Like a lot of people are upset about it that they're releasing more paper ships or fake ships or whatever. Who knows, man? They probably they probably have things to a certain direction that maybe these ones got finished faster. You know,
I mean,
maybe these got finished faster. If they were working on some of these other boat lines at the same time, the Pan-European DDs are finished before the fucking Russian cruisers got finished. So maybe that's the only reason why they brought it out. There's no rhyme or reason. Number one. Number two, I still can't pull that fucking thing up because it's on a different screen and you're on that screen. So I'm just gonna have to not bring it up. Basically the deal is this. I don't care if they're paper ships. I don't care if they're real ships or some dude's fucking napkin ship that they drew. Hey, let's do this. I don't care because for me as a streamer, for me as a content creator, that's fucking content that I don't have to come up with myself, senpai. So I don't care where it comes from. I just want it to be fair. I want it to be balanced. I want it to be I want it to be consistent. And if these boats are going to be consistent, fine. If they're going to break the rest of the game, stealth radars coming back again. That's possibly a potential for these that I've heard some rumblings about. There's something to that. There's something that it's kind of frustrating about that.
technically speaking, the Chapayev can still stealth radar, even in its current state. Like if you get detected in the Chap, you can still pop your radar. So stealth radar never technically lost us. Now, content-wise, I can agree with you. Like, hey, they're giving us content. That's a fucking big pog. But at the same time, the World War II buff in me and the nerd in me is screaming at them like you are literally taking paper ships and putting them in game when you have literal full navies that still haven't been introduced, and that's what ticks me off.
Well,
because there's so, I mean, given that maybe paper ships are a little easier to obtain because they never really existed and you're not jumping over as much red tape, but at the same time, like at least give us an update. It's like, hey, we understand that you want these actual Navy ships in the game. However, we are running into red tape or something like that with the classified information that these governments aren't giving us the blueprints, et cetera, et cetera. That's why we can't get these real ships in. If they told us that, I would have been like, all right, cool, thanks, but they haven't said jack about it.
I think that them keeping it under wraps is some kind of industry sabotage type thing, and reason why they're not bringing it out and saying that stuff, because hey, we're working on this. Well, they don't really have direct competition here in this particular genre, but if somebody wanted to, they could probably put it together eventually and take those ideas already. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they're not being very open with what's coming up in the future, other than what we already have ready for testing and all this other shit. Because I'm sure that there's 3 or 4 lines out there that we haven't even heard of, that they're doing internal testings or whatever, or they're finalizing things. So there's a lot
I mean,
more.
of course, I'm not asking them to reveal their 365 year plan,
No.
like 365-day plan to the public. I'm asking them, like, hey, like, we understand that you want real ships, but there's like, and that could be just as ambiguous as I said it. Like, that could be anything. And they could just say, like, hey, we're running into red tape with some of the governments or people that we're working with in order to obtain the blueprints, so we can give you a proper thing. That's what I'm saying.
No, I get it. No, I didn't. I understand. Totally understand. But anyway, I'm playing devil's advocate there. Devil. I think that these Russian ships are going to be another set of ships that I just don't fucking play. I don't play the Moskva. I don't play the Stalingrad. They're boring. You sit there, you sling some guns, and you sit bow in. Same thing with the Kremlin. You sit there, you sling your guns, you sit bow in. It's a very boring boat. The Kremlin is a very boring boat. And so is the Moskva. So is the Stalingrad. Kronstadt's not much better. And these are these high tier boats, and I'm just like, I really don't enjoy playing these because they don't challenge me enough to do anything. How hard is it to sit still or to back up? I mean, didn't we get away from the backing up meta when fucking British battleships showed up?
Fair, yeah. I mean, not really. At the same time, we still see the Yamatos go bow in and say, "Hey, guess what?
North Carolina's doing it." You still see, and I tell everybody in the chat, and they've heard me ad nauseum repeat this, guys. If y'all stop moving, you're guaranteed to die. Period. Whether it be torpedoes or whatever, you're not moving. Now you're just a sitting still target. Makes it very easy for people to hit you. And with all the fire chance that's out there, it pretty sucks. So I don't sit still very often unless I absolutely have to. I try to avoid that as much as possible. So, what did you gather from these? And I unfortunately I cannot bring it up right now. I wish I could. The stats on this. And in fact, do you have that link real quick? Can you? How about this?
For which stats?
I want to see these hold on, let me just do this, guys. We're gonna have a little bit of a break here for just a couple of seconds while I can copy pasta this thing to Senpai and then bring it up on a different computer, because I can pull it up on one computer but it's bringing it up on the screen that I have you on. So give me just a second, guys. I have to minimize this and copy pasta it to you.
All right.
And then that way I can just pick it up. Control V, enter. Then I can pull this up here. Come on, bring it up. All right, cool. We're back. All right, so here we go. Back to the podcast. All right. This is much better. I have this whole thing. And here's the link itself, boys. Copy pasta if you guys want to follow along at home. There it is. All right, so Soviet cruisers, starting with the Tier 8 Talion. Did you pull that up as well? All right.
Yeah,
so
I've got it.
4x3s, 180 millimeters, firing range at 17.7 kilometers. Dispersion at this range is 190 meters sigma, 1.9, 2.0 maximum HE shell dam, 2.0, 1.9 to 2.0. Maximum HE shell damage is 2,500. Chance to cause a fire is 11%. HE shell velocity 920. AP shell damage 4550. AP shell velocity 920. Reload time 13.5 seconds. 180 degree turn time 22 seconds.
Okay.
Right. We have torpedoes on this thing. 4 kilometer torpedoes, 65 knots. who cares? Nobody's going to use these very much anyway. AA defense, don't care because I don't like reading
Just
these numbers.
forehead.
Yeah. Maximum speed, 31 knots. Turning radius, 900 meters. Enormous. Rudder shift time, 10.9 seconds. Very slow to turn. Surface detectability is 12.2. 12.2 base. Now your radar.
No camo. So with no camo, nothing. That's actually really interesting.
Your radar is 12 kilometers. So this is a severe sneak up on and fucking radar boat. And we talked about stealth radaring, but this is definitely stealth radar. When you start out at 12, oh man, what are you going to do with the concealment expert?
Yeah, this is quite blatant. This is very blatant. I mean, considering that with Chapayev, you get basically the same, like stock with only the I think it's only the concealment mod here. I'll remove it right now because I actually have the ship up.
Go for it.
Your concealment is actually 12.8, so this actually has better concealment than the Chapayev.
Yep, and this is the heavy cruiser.
That's the heavy cruiser, and the Chappie is the light cruiser. That really strikes some chords with me. Whereas Wargaming didn't look at the stats. So honestly, Talon already looking very broken on paper.
Yeah, armor plating 25 millimeters. So that's 25 millimeter bow armor.
Okay, so
I'm assuming
credible.
it's 25 millimeter bow armor because that's generally what we get, right?
Hit points, that's the same as the Chapayev.
Hit points 4,500 or 45,000. 45,000 hit points.
That's
pretty beefy.
That's pretty beefy for a tier 8 cruiser, considering that like tier 10s sit around that area. Let me just pull up some tier 10 cruiser statistics. 45,000 on a Talon, whereas a Des Moines gets 50k, a Worcester gets 45.4, and a Zhao gets 44.3, and I believe that's with survivability expert. Yeah, that's with survivability expert.
There you go. All right, so let's move on to the next one. There's something else that a lot of people are saying. Soviet cruiser Riga, tier 9, 50,500 hit points, plating 25, same. We start with the bigger guns here, 3x3s, 3 turrets, 3 apiece. 220 millimeters, firing range 18 kilometers. Dispersion at this range is 168 meters. Sigma 2.05. Maximum shell damage. That's pretty nice. I mean, that's maximum dispersion. So these things are relatively accurate.
Oh yeah, they're supposed to be. They're Russian railguns.
But here's the deal. They also said that it was max range. It was going to be questionable. So if this is max range and this is 2.05 and it's questionable, are they going to get another buff like the Kremlin does at 12? Holy shit. What the hell is going on with these boats? And why is it only in the Russian zone? And I can tell you why, because it's a fucking Russian game and they want their boats to be the fucking best. And they are the benchmark and everything else follows under that. That's my theory.
Soviet Union.
That's my theory.
Soviet Union.
Yeah. That's my theory, guys. That's my theory. 10 full hat time. 10 full hat theories. The next one is maximum HE shell damage 3,050. Chance to cause fires 14%. Shell velocity 985. Holy shit, 985, bro. These things are fucking monster beam shells, dude. AP on this is 6,250. AP shell velocity at 985 as well. Reload time at 14 seconds, so relatively slow. 180 degree turn time, 32 seconds. So you can't turn in these things. So it's another bow up playstyle.
They're just replacement Moskvas, man. I mean, this just looking at the health and just the statistics, they basically just copy pasted the Moskva stats.
Yep.
And I believe that they're going to give these the Russian dispersion ellipse, and they're going to keep the Moskva without it, making the Moskva essentially a premium Petropavlovsk.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's the way it's looking for me. Like, it's copy pasted stats. It's bringing nothing new to the table except for maybe the Russian dispersion ellipse, which is still somewhat it's old now. It's old hat.
It's controversial because it's really good.
Definitely.
Maximum speed 33 knots. Turning circle radius again a monstrous 920 meters. Rudder shift time 11.5 seconds. Surface detectability at 14 kilometers. Now this one, you could still get it down somewhere around 12 with the concealment expert. You still have some potential of as soon as you get spotted, pop your radar. like the chip out of. All right. None of that other shit. Hit points on the Petro Pavlovsky's dogs, 55,800. Plating at 25. We had the same 3x3, 220 millimeter firing range, 18.4 kilometers. Dispersion at this range is 172 meters. Sigma at 2.05. Still pretty good. What's the? I wonder what the dispersion at max range is on something like the Stalingrad or the Kronstadt. Now
here's something that's interesting. I just did the stats the stat comparison. The Petropavlovsk in comparison to the Moskva right now has 10,000 less HP, and in comparison to Stalingrad has almost 20,000 less HP. That's some food for thought, considering that this heavy cruiser is meant to replace the Moskva. It seems like they're making this line a lot weaker. Like, take a look at the stat difference, Venom. It's kind of worrisome. It's a little worrisome, but at the same time, like it raises the question as to why they're doing it. But at the same time, I'm okay with it simply because it brings the Russian cruisers back into line with the rest.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, whatever. I don't play them. Fuck them. I don't like anything past the Chappie. I think the Chappie's probably the best boat in that line, so I don't care. Other people do though, and so that's why we're talking about it. Where were we at? 14% AP, 6350, 995, almost 1,000 meters per second here. The meters per second on the. I believe it's the Baba d'Abruzzi there on the Italian Tier 7 has 1,000 meters per second, but that shit falls off so quick. Like when you hit something.
Oh, the Abruzzi?
Yeah.
I'll take a quick look here.
Yeah, check that out real quick.
Abruzzi shell velocity is, drum roll please, 152s at 995 for HE.
995.
So it's basically 1,000.
For the same thing here. All right. AA defense, who cares? It doesn't mean anything. Wait. Whoa. Action zone of this AA is 6.6 kilometers.
That's the longest AA range we've seen since post 8.0.
Wow, that's interesting.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Maximum speed 32 knots, big 990 meters on the turning circle radius, rudder shift time 12.1, surface detectability 14.4, air detectability 8.3, 9 kilometers on the smoke. It comes with damage control party, hydro or defensive AA radar, and a repair party. Fuck, man, I am so tired of radar too, man. That's another thing, man.
Also, sorry, that is not the longest AA range. No. The Minotaur still holds that at 7.
Dude, smoke fire penalty is 9 kilometers.
Oh, God, Wargaming, what have you done?
9 kilometers. That's ridiculous, man. You get a Smolensk skin one of these things into a party together, holy shit, you're fucked. Period. That game
what
over.
What have you done?
Game over.
No. We put a Moskva in smoke, and it literally cannot do the same thing. Oh my God.
Riga's smoke firing is 8.7.
Oh my God, no. Dude, that's Moskva's detectability in smoke is 12.7. And they're at the same caliber guns. Now this is what I'm assuming that they're going to have to buff the Moskva by their gun bloom logic. They have to buff the Moskva to be on par now, because if they don't, they go back on the logic and they're hypocrites.
Oh no, wait.
Because
wait.
They said
it gets better.
Gun bloom and smoke is done by caliber. Therefore,
gets better, man.
They have to buff the Moskva and the Stalingrad. Oh my God.
Detectability after firing main guns and smoke for the Talon is 6.4.
Oh my God. Wargaming, what are you doing?
They've lost their damn minds.
Oh my God.
All right, everything's going to follow these set of rules. Let's put it this way. Let's put it this way.
Oh, is it okay if I take a shot?
I don't think I need one.
Right
what is the Fiji's? The Fiji is less than 5 kilometers for a lot less guns. 152s, I guess, around 155s or something like that. 150. I don't know what they are. And that's like 5 or 6 kilometers. These
Oh
are
my God,
180 millimeter guns. 180 millimeter guns on the tier 8 for 6.4. 220s for 9 flat. 9 flat.
I think this is going to be worth bringing up in some form of feedback, because that is definitely that is a mistake,
All right,
and that should not be happening.
You got the Kirov up? Can you pull the Kirov up?
I will pull it up right now because it is actually one of my favorite Tier 5 seal clubbers.
That's a good one, man. I like the Molly. Molly's mine.
Molotov's nice for Tier 6, but Tier 5,
yeah,
dude, Kirov with IFHE, it's disgusting.
All right, so tell me what the gun firing smoke penalty is for the Kirov.
8.0 flat, no concealment.
8 flat. All right. Kotovsky with 152s, 5 kilometers.
If I had something to throw at a wall, I would do it right now, because they are completely going back on everything that they've said that they will do about smoke firing penalties. This is actually
here's
this
the
is
rub.
actually very concerning.
Kirov
I want some of their Kool-Aid.
The Kirov is a fucking tier 5 boat, dude. Right? And it has 8 kilometers. The Taiga is a tier 8 boat, and it has 6.4 kilometer smoke fire penalty with the same size guns.
I want some of the Kool-Aid that Wargaming's drinking.
Yeah, pretty much. Alexander Nevsky, tier 10, 50,900 hit points, plating 25 millimeters, 4x2s, so it's got double gun turrets, 180 millimeters. Firing range 19 kilometers. Dispersion at this range is 164. Sigma 2.0. Maximum HE shell damage 2,500. 4450 for the AP. Chance to cause fire is 13%. Shell velocity is 1,000 meters per second.
They call this a light cruiser with 180s?
Yeah, this is technically a light cruiser. It's got 8-kilometer torpedoes on it, 2x5, so you got 5 on each side. 60 knots, reload, who cares? It's torpedoes. Nobody's going to... you might use these, though, so we'll go ahead and read them out. Reload time, 131 seconds. 180-degree turn time, 7.2. Torpedo detectability at 1.2 kilometers. Still don't care about AA. Maximum speed, 36 knots. Turning circle, a monstrous 940. Rudder shift time, 11.5 seconds. Surface detectability, stock is 13.3, so you will be able to stealth radar on this one. 8.4 kilometer after firing in smoke, 7.3 kilometers. Damage control party, hydroacoustic / defensive AA, a radar, and a repair party.
Oh my God, what is this? Is a light cruiser. This is what the Russians classify as a... Oh my God, I can't find anything good to say about this. This is just, on paper, this is broken as hell. 1,000 meters. Are we real right now? 1,000 meters per second on the shell. Oh, what is this? I can't stop laughing out of sheer, I'm sad that this exists, but I can't stop laughing because it exists.
All right, let's move down. There's 2 more tier 5 cruisers that they're going to bring into the game. One is
I briefly looked at the Mikoyan.
Mikoyan.
I have a couple comments after you discuss the statistics.
All right, I'm not going to talk too much about these, but these are 3x2s. So you got 6 guns. 180 millimeters, firing range 16 kilometers. It's pretty typical. 2,500 for HE, 4,100 AP. Chance to cause fire is 13%. Shell velocity at 800, so there's relatively slow compared. Reload time 13.5 seconds. It's pretty long. Turn time, 180-degree turn time is 22.5 seconds on the guns. Torpedo tubes 2x3s, 8 kilometers. Those are torpedoes, man. These are long torpedoes too. 8 kilometers for Russians when normally they're 4. Who cares about AA? It's tier 5. There's no such a thing. 35 knot speeds. Turning circle, still 830. Rudder shift time, 5.9 seconds. That's actually pretty good for a Russian cruiser. Surface detectability at straight up 11. Air detectability, 5.8. Detectability after firing main guns in smoke, 5.6.
Now, I have an issue with this because the Molotov has the same caliber of guns, yet yet it has worse detection in smoke. It has like it's this just reminds me. It feels like it's basically a. It feels like it looks like maybe Molotov Light.
Yeah, probably.
Just looking at the range.
Damage control party, hydroacoustic, slot 3, fighter or a spotting aircraft. So you have to choose hydro.
You put
fighter,
a spotter plane on that
or a
thing. Oh
spotter.
my god!
Well, I mean,
If you
put
oh
it on,
my god.
put it on the Bajoni. It's basically a small Bajoni.
Oh my
The
god.
next one is the. Oh, anyway, go ahead and say what you were going to say about these things.
Like this thing is basically it's a small Molotov, and just looking at how much range it gets, like you're getting what is it 16.2 kilometer range. That's more than a Mogami. That is disgusting.
Mogami has 15.7 kilometer range.
Yeah, and this thing has like half a kilometer above it, and it's a tier 5 ship.
Yeah,
and its sigma is 2. Oh my Lanta! This is and the 8 kilometer torpedoes, like wargaming, like hello, like the Kirov gets 4 kilometer torpedoes. The Molotov gets 4 kilometer torpedoes. What justifies these 8s?
I don't know. Nobody's gonna fucking use them. I mean, they go broadside. They're probably gonna get shit on here. So I mean, it's typical Russian cruiser.
But at the same time, 13 millimeters of plating. This also makes me think: how wide is this ship? Because if it's thin, shells are going to pass right through it, and we're going to get a Smolensk effect.
Yeah. All right, moving on. The Voroshilov. I don't know. We'll come up with some.
This is just a copy pasta of the Kirov.
Yeah. This is intended to test possible changes for the ship when her status changed from. Well, fuck her. I'm not even going to talk about her then. All right. So anyway, so that's a skip. We'll skip that one. Okachov. Oh, it's the fucking Okeechobee, man. It's the Okeechobee River right here, bros. We're coining the phrase now, Okeechobee. Support cruiser with low detection, torpedoes with a 10-kilometer range, and a solid choice of consumables in separate slots. However, she has not the best survivability and relatively low damage per minute, DPM. Hit points, 30,200, 16 millimeter armor, main battery of 4 152s, firing range at 15.2 kilometers. Dispersion at this range is 138 meters, sigma at 2.0. Maximum HE shell damage 2,200, AP is 3,300, chance to cause fires at 12%, shell velocity 950. These things are more bullets. These things are just railguns. Reload time 6.5 seconds. Pretty fucking low for a tier 8, especially a cruiser. What's the reload time on
These
the
are
on the
152s.
Cooters? Yeah, Cooters are 155s, but I think they're 155s.
No, Cooters are 152s. I'll pull up the Kutuzov reload right now. Give me a moment.
All right.
I actually have mine selected right now.
4x2, so you're going to get 8
is
guns.
8 seconds. 8 seconds.
8 seconds, so 6.5 seconds.
So this thing right now, I'm looking at
13-second turn time on the guns.
Now this thing right now, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm going to do some quick maths.
All right.
On my calculator here. So its concealment is 11.5, so we're going to go 11.5, and then we're going to take concealment expert, which is minus 10%, so we're going to go times 0.9. So that's concealment expert. That's 10.3, 10.4 concealment. Then plus the module, which I believe is another 10%. So
that's
times
tier 8. So yeah,
times 0.9. Dude, this thing is going to have a 9.3 concealment. It can stealth torp. This is going to be the Russian Mogami. This is going to be a Russian Mogami. I'm calling it right now.
Fine. I don't mind the Mogami. Now that
I don't mind it either, but this is going to be
Mogami.
incredibly powerful.
I love the 203.
I mean,
either way, doesn't matter.
I still love the 155s. I'm that guy.
2x5s, 533 millimeter maximum damage, 15,100 range, 10 kilometers, speed 56 knots, relatively slow. Reload time 131 seconds, 180 degree turn time 7.2 seconds, torpedo detectability at a nice 1.1 kilometers. So you only get 5 torpedoes on a side. That sucks, but oh well. AA defense still doesn't matter. Maximal speed 35 knots, turning circle radius 750 meters. That's not bad. It's better than the rest of them we talked about. Rudder shift time at 8.2. Not bad. Surface detectability at 11.5 base. That's pretty good. Air detectability 7.2. Still pretty good. Detectability after firing main guns and smoke, a whopping 5.4 kilometers.
Now that actually matches up with light cruiser
mentality
shooting detection.
All right.
It matches up with the Kutuzov, although it does have better detection and smoke than the Kutuzov. The Kutuzov has a 7.7. This is a 5.4. So
it comes with damage control party, defensive AA, surveillance radar, and hydro.
Now, I'd really like to know what the range on this radar is, because if it's 12, that is messed up.
You know it's going to be 12 because everything else on the fucking Russians are 12. You know it's going to be 12, dude. If they put this thing down to 8.5 or something like that, then this boat becomes balanced immediately. Like the Salem. Salem is. I'm telling you right now, and I will go to my grave saying that the Salem is the most balanced radar boat in the game because it's 8.5 kilometers and you have to actually risk it for the biscuit. It's the most balanced.
100%.
And if they could lower some of these to where they actually have to put their boats into contention or put their boats in harm's way to get these radars off, I think a lot of people would be a little bit happier about radar. All right, so there you go. There's that one. Peter Bagration. Peter Bagration. I don't fucking know. Peter grabbed a bag. Some old biddy. I don't know. Light. So this is a hybrid style boat. The Bagration combines features from light cruisers and heavy Soviet cruisers. From the former, she received the standard accuracy settings of the HE shells. From the latter, effective AP shells. Besides that, her torpedoes have an 8-kilometer range. However, the cruiser is not the greatest damage per minute due to having 9 guns and a 12.5-second reload. Hit points, 42,000. Plating, 25 millimeters. Main battery, 3x3, 180 millimeters. 18-kilometer range. Dispersion at this range, 157. Sigma 2.0. Maximum HE shell damage, 2,500. Chance to cause fires, 13%. Shell velocity, 920. AP is 4,550. So 4,550, same velocity. Reload time, 12.5 seconds, but you can, with Tier 8, so you don't get that module for extra bonuses. 180-degree turn time on those. There's 22.5 seconds. 8-kilometer torpedoes, 55 knots, 2x5, so you get 5 on each side. Reload time 130, 131 seconds, 1.3 kilometer detectability. AA still doesn't matter. Maximum speed 34 knots, turning circle radius a whopping 890 meters. Rudder shift time 10.5 seconds. That's not bad. Not bad for this boat. 12.6 kilometer detectability, which you can get it under 12. Air detectability 7.4. Detectability after firing main guns and smoke 6.7 kilometers. Fuck. Damage control party, hydroacoustic, duration time 100 seconds. Torpedo detection range 3 kilometers. Ship detection range 4 kilometers. Reload time 180 seconds. If you use premium, it's down to 120. 2 charges or defensive AA.
3 if you use the premium.
Right. It comes with 2 base charges. Yeah.
Now this cruiser,
so you have to choose hydro or AA.
It's
no radar.
As the description says, it's a bit of a bastard child between the lights and the heavies, but I still can't believe they can call a cruiser with 180 millimeter guns a light cruiser. I guess they're going by the standard. Oh, a 203 classifies a heavy cruiser. Well, I guess, and then by that logic, I guess that anything in between 152 and a 203 is technically a hybrid cruiser. But I think this one actually kind of looks okay.
This one seems a little bit balanced here. I don't have a problem with this one. It doesn't have any radar, so you don't have to worry about that. It's got the shitty Russian hydro on it, so that doesn't matter. AA 5.8 kilometer max, long range, 5.8 on that one.
I'm actually okay with this one.
On the other one at Tier 4. I don't have a problem with this one either, man. It doesn't seem like it's broken.
It definitely seems like out of all the ships we've discussed, this one is the most balanced.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys think out there, man? Ask us some questions at SirVenomIK here at Virtual Senpai. We are talking about the Russian connection. What are your thoughts on the new Russian boats? Are you guys enjoying the new reading about them, or do you guys think it's too much Russian bias? There's too many new ships coming out with this one little zone, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then. Fuck, I done closed it off, so I don't even know anymore. A minimum of 5 ships. The tier 5 and the tier 10 on the light side, then 3 on the new side. So that's 5 ships, and then we talked about 1 tier 5 cruiser and 2 tier 8. So 8 more Russian ships coming, all relatively close to each other. One of them's a line, so we'll give them the line. What do you think? Do you think Russian bias has something to do with it? Do you think because it's a Russian game, they want their boats out there as much as possible and have the big gimmicks?
Honestly, this is I don't know what kind of weed they grow over in Russia.
That's that vodka
But
weed.
I mean, it's potato marijuana. Then we'll go with that
weed.
one.
There you go.
But just looking at these ship lines, like I almost went into hysterics looking at the light cruisers. I almost went into hysterics, and I can't justify these. These are like this isn't what this like Chief called. This ain't it. Like looking at the HP, looking at the smoke firing range. Like you're giving ships with 180 millimeter guns the smoke bloom that is competitive, if not better, than 152s. And that's what really irks me, because now they're going to have to go and modify all these different ships. They're going to have to go back and fix all these 152 millimeter ships to be the same across the board, or change the dynamic on how they do gun bloom and smoke. Because if you like, for example, you get a Nevsky in smoke, he's got a radar. Like as soon as like he sees that he's like spotted in smoke, he's just gonna click the radar button, and guess what? You lose a destroyer right off the bat, because that shell velocity is 1,000 meters a second. That's gonna destroy any small boat.
Do you think that these are directly in line counters with those fucking speedy French bastards out there?
I definitely think that the Nevsky could definitely punch around a Kleber or Marceau, and that yet remains to be seen. But I would love to try that out sometime once we get these ships for testing. I would love to try that out.
Let's go ahead and throw the disclaimer out there, is that this is a work in progress. All of these boats are subject to change. They might change, they might not change, but the initial numbers that we're seeing are very disturbing, especially that smoke fire range, because you know it. I know it. We're going to get into divisions together. Somebody's going to get into division with you, and we're going to be like, hey, let's go full-blown AIDS. Everybody knows the AIDS is Atlantis, at Belfast, Flint, with 2 smokes, 2 radars, or the super AIDS of Smolensk, Colbert, Minotaur, Worcester, putting all these stupid AIDSy things into a division together, putting a really good American DD with these things, putting in a Smolensk with these tier 10s that have the really low smoke firing penalty. It's going to be fucking monstrous. Not only that, if you do happen to get in with that 9-kilometer detectability in that smoke, hey, guess what? Somebody's within 9 kilometers. Here's my fucking radar. I think these things are going to be monsters, man. In that aspect,
like, it disturbs me, and it makes me wonder, like what were they drinking? Like when they came up with these ships, what were they drinking, and why didn't they bring it out when we were all in St. Petersburg?
Sure. But
like,
that's the thing.
I mean, Earl did make us take Sambuca. That was fun.
I refuse to drink Sambuca, man. The way they make that shit, no. No, thank you. But if you enjoyed it, hey, you enjoyed it, man.
It was hilarious.
So let's talk about something else. Now, somebody put out a video recently, and we all know what video you know what video I'm talking about the numbers worldwide. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
A certain North American CC did it.
Well, it was Zoop, but the numbers that we got was from Sea Raptor. He was the one. He was the
It was combined effort. It was a combined North American effort.
right. Interestingly enough, this numbers now I can't pull it up, but I'm sure it's if you scroll up in our Discord, then you can see it. These numbers are very interesting of how the American servers pretty much been on a steady increase. The C servers kind of gone up and down. The EU server was vastly the most populated server, going up and down. And then the steady decline of the Russian server. Now it's been put out there. It's been put out there of people have said that they are putting these out now to try to entice more CIS server players to come back to the game. As we all know, as Citizen has told us, and I'm sure we'll go experience it for ourselves eventually, how the player base is pretty much dying over there in Russia. So what do you think? Do you think that honestly, personally, I think this is a big giant fucking coincidence because the rotation of these ships have come up at right about the same time as this information has come out. I think that these would have come out even if we didn't know this fucking information. So who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about the player base over in Russia? Does that affect us? Do you think that it affects us? And do you think that they're bringing these out specifically to try to attract the Russian player base again?
I think that yes, I do like these. If I said that these don't coincide with each other, I'd be so incredibly wrong. But honestly, just looking at all of this and just how things are being put out, they definitely coincide with each other. And I do feel like they are trying to make sure that the Russian player base stays up so they can use their portion of percentage of influence of players to influence how patches go out, because the moment that the way and balance of power goes from the CIS servers into the EU and NA servers, that's when we're going to start. I have a feeling that's when the data is going to start changing drastically, and we'll see more better changes, the ones that we are dying to see.
Hey man, you never know, man. Like I know the American server, we're not the most populated. I think we're probably some of the most passionate players. I know I play with a big chip on my shoulder when I play, and it's frustration out of everything. I get very personally upset when I'm not able to perform at my maximum, and it has nothing to do with me. And the majority of it's the game telling you RNGs is saying no. But I think that something else that we can take away from these numbers is that, hey, we're a Russian company. Maybe there is something to it. Maybe there is. Maybe deep down inside. Now, I don't think that there is. And I'm tinfoil hat, guys. Tinfoil hat, right? Tinfoil hat theory, guys. If that there is something to this, it would not surprise me because of look at what we've gotten so far. Russian battleships are arguably some of the better ones. They have some of the better mechanics in the game. They have the bonus dispersion up close, which I still think that they should spread that around to everything else at different ranges. They have now these new Russian cruisers are going to be pretty much better than any of the other cruisers out there. Now, obviously, it's all on who's playing them, but they're very formidable in their current state. Very formidable. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say that they're all right. Let me change it. They're not the end all be all of this game, but they are very strong. And the only thing that are in these lines that isn't really all that strong are the DDs anymore. Now, regardless of what anybody says, Kleber's very good, right? The Kleber's a very good boat. So is the Mogador. But the Trash Can and the Kebab are very fucking good boats. The Kiev at Tier 8 is a phenomenal boat. And they're all really, really good boats. But because they've kind of been overshadowed, I think people just don't play them enough anymore. Because the Kebab has never been bad. It never has it been bad, the Kebab or the Trash Can or the Kiev. Some of the other sides, the Grazovoy's always been really strong. The Udaloy, it depends. From person to person, it changes, and the Ogdevoy's pretty steady all the way through. None of these boats are terrible. And I think a lot of people perceive them as bad. But everything that I've seen so far in the introduction of the Grazovoy being a super AA machine, and now being lost, that one's kind of lost its flavor. I don't see too many Grazovoys anymore. Maybe you do. What do you think?
Grazovoys, with the legendary, they become a whole different boat and they become very, very powerful. But ever since the introduction of Smolensk and all these HE heavy boats, and as well as the speed and utility of the Clever, you don't see very many of them anymore. Even though Grazovoy is actually one of the stronger boats when faced up against carriers, because it does get that defensive fire perk. Now,
Yeah.
not saying that defensive fire is the solve all for problems, because we all know that isn't. And that would be a blatant lie if I said it. It's not, but it is actually more effective against carriers than a lot of other destroyers are.
Agreed. So, is this Russian biased? Do you think that this is Russian biased? Let's put all our cards on the table. Do you think that it's Russian biased to have these boats being able to do what they're doing according to these stats that we've read today, which are work in progress? Do you think that it's Russian bias to have the battleships being super overly tanky of a play style that was old 2 years ago, and bringing it back and making it more effective? Do you think it's Russian bias that they're bringing out these boats continuously or conveniently when this information was made readily available? Now, obviously this announcement was made before that information was released, or before Zoop's video, or before C Raptor had said it, because we were talking about it. What do you think? Why do you think now all of a sudden? Did it just happen to be a coincidence that the fucking development cycle fell on this? We still have pan-European DDs to go through, or pan-EU DDs to go through. We just released it, so we're looking 3-4 months in the future for these boats.
Like, honestly, if I said it was Russian bias, the sleeper agent next door that works for the KGB would come over here, kidnap me, and throw me in a gulag for 20 years of my life. But in saying those words, those 20 years would be so worth it. So yes, I do think it is Russian bias, and I do think that this is a bit of an alarm bell going off for wargaming, because the CIS server player base is in decline. And as we saw with the statistics, and that basically means that, we're going to lose our we're losing our influence in our own country over this game, and we're going to have to start catering to other regions, which they damn well should, because I'm pretty sure most of the money does come from EU as well as NA. I'm not
the NA server, from what my understanding is, consists of majority of the income now. Yeah,
exactly. So all of you out there,
how that is spread out, I don't know. Premium time, buying doubloons, transferring doubloons for whatever, buying premiums, I don't know.
Straight up buying the Puerto Rico.
There is a definite there's a hell of a lot more players over on the EU server, but my gathering from some of the information that we've seen, that the NA server kind of pushes more money through the game. Which in turn makes me think. So I mean, here's something tinfoil hat again. Makes me think this: when companies are getting ready to sell a product, they have or they have an existing product and they want to get rid of it or pass it off onto somebody else. Now, tinfoil hat, guys, tinfoil hat. It's not true. It's not happening. It just goes to show, for me, Wargaming is trying to make as much money as they can as quickly as possible to show that World of Warships is very profitable, is a good profitable, because they know A, it's either on the decline, or B, they're getting ready to dump it.
Yep.
Less players, less opportunity for them to make money. So let's monetize every little bit and fucking piece of this game that we fucking can now, because eventually we can already see the decline in the numbers. We are getting rid of this game. This game will no longer be profitable and no longer be worth putting anything into it, for the simple fact that we're not making any money anymore. And then you have
it goes down to the roots of why they're not making money, because they made everything way too easy to grind.
I would think so. I would think so. I mean, it's very easy to grind through this game, getting from 2 to 10, all the way in my or my American destroyers. I started at 2 and I played through it. 2 games, 4 games. I think we were at 50 games and we were already at tier 8 or something like that. So less than 100 games getting back to tier 10. It's a joke. It's a joke, man. And of course, I know what I'm doing. And regardless what anybody else in the chat says, I know how to play the game. Uh, the newer guys are going to have the hardest problem because they don't know how to play the game, and they're going to struggle a little bit. But then they just have to pull out their grandma's credit card, dual wield, swipe, and then now they have premium time. Now they can purchase a tier 10 to get free XP, and swipe that credit card again, and then guess what? Now they have a tier 10. It's an interesting thing, man.
Like it's way too easy, and the fact that World of Tanks has lasted so long is because it's actually freaking hard. It's more difficult, not harder, but more difficult and more time consuming to get that experience in order to get up into the high tiers. Like I've started playing World of Tanks again recently. Like, oh God rest my soul, but I've been doing it because I wanted a game to play that was a little less demanding of me and one that I could screw around with. I started playing the French light tanks, not the wheelie boys, but the light tanks. And of all the years I've spent playing tanks on and off, I still don't have a tier 10 because guess what? It's harder to get stuff in that game. Whereas I literally didn't even try, and I only maybe purchased a few things for my alt account.
Uh-huh.
And on my alt account, I have a Smolensk and a Henry IV.
Uh-huh.
And I've under 200 games, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of messed up. It's kind of messed up. And by kind of, I mean very messed up with how the XP differentials are coming into this game. It would not surprise me if Oregon goes, hey, we're gonna roll everything back, and then you're gonna have a hell of a time grinding up. Or they make a whole different server, like World of Warships 2.0. You have to start from zero again.
Unfortunately, they won't do that. But
they won't. We all know
they won't do it, man, and they will never revert back to the old systems because they're making too much money. It would be a massive loss of profit for them. All right, so here's the deal, Senpai. Here's what I want to say about this, and then if there's anything else you want to talk about today, then we'll talk about it. But I just think this is a direct coincidence, personally. Honestly, this is just a coincidence. These boats have been in production for how long? Before, we don't know because they didn't tell us, hey, we're going to start working on this. They haven't told us. I think that they have not released lines like this or information like this for 3 lines later, ever. So maybe the release of the information can generate some hype. I think that that's a very good possibility. Generate some hype on the Russian server because everybody likes to play their own boats. You're Canadian, you love the Hydia. I'm American, I love playing with myself. The EU guys, the German guys love playing the German battleships. The British guys love playing their British boats, and so I can only see it. I see it. I see it a lot, man. A lot of people. I know Fitz in your mom himself, or Fitz in your aft now. Can't wait for the fucking Alaska. He was waiting for the Alaska forever, and he plays the shit out of that boat because he likes it. I play everything. So either way, I think it's a very big coincidence, but I wouldn't put it past them to try to generate hype on that Russian server. They've never released information of, we have one coming out right now. Here's our British cruisers. We have the Pan-Europeans on deck. That's what's coming up next. And then, okay, after that, they usually wait until this one gets in. I would have expected them to wait for the Russian cruisers to come out, or information to drop about the Russian cruisers, when the Pan-Europeans get to the point where the British cruisers are now. I would have expected them to wait. So going 2 lines deep or 3 lines deep of information, that's pretty rare for them. So I think maybe that portion of it is generating hype for the Russian server. Thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely they want to see that incline in numbers again. And Wargaming as a company is probably like, hey, guess what? You're losing your largest player base, and you need to start making that up again. But yeah, this is definitely a hype mechanic. Just saying, like, having these announced so quickly and so hurriedly, it seems like they literally threw these stats onto these ships in anticipation that, oh my god, this is so broken, this is so powerful, we need to, oh my god, let's go back and play the game. But I think I heard somewhere that even though it's kind of funny that they're announcing Russian ships like this, because I heard somewhere, I can't remember where I heard it or if I heard it or if I'm just like imagining things, but I heard that even though the CIS servers have the highest amount of players, I thought a lot of those players were free to play.
I remember hearing something along those lines. Maybe not in those exact words, but I do remember hearing a lot of that as well.
Because if that's a fact, if that's a fact, then why are they putting so much effort into a region that isn't their most profitable?
Yeah, that's another thing. Or they just had or like I said, they just came up at a right time, and like we were getting this information. We got this information about 3 days before the server information came out, because then we started talking about populations and stuff. But so like I said, it's all coincidence. But they are putting out quite a bit of ships all at once that are all going to be Russian. So either way, besides that, all right. You got anything else you want to talk about? A whole topic all for yourself, guys. We're hitting their topic with twitch.tv/virtualsenpai or at virtualsenpai over on the Twitch channel and Twitter, respectively. And then I am Sir Venom IK. You guys can hit me up at Sir_Venom_IK or over on twitch.tv/Sir Venom IK for you guys over on YouTube if you guys want to have a live conversation. Now, take everything that we have said so far with a grain of salt. This is our opinions. This is my opinion. This is Senpai's opinion, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else.
I mean, honestly, just anything if there's anything to talk about is to go back towards CB.
All right.
And I'm just going to keep this real short and sweet. Guys, we all hate them. We all dislike how they've been implemented. We all need to keep bitching about it, because eventually, once there's enough of us bitching and moaning about it, then they will do something about it, because they've done this in the past where it's literally reached a point where there's so many people talking about it that they have to do something about it. And this point is very, very far off, but guaranteed, if enough of us bitch and moan, and if a ton of us in the community, we all say the same thing, if it's more in their face, they're going to be more obliged to do something about it. Can't just be 2 or 3 Reddit posts or 2 or 3 forum posts a day. It needs to be a fucking tidal wave.
All right, well, we're not trying to incite no fucking riots here, because that's against terms of service. But either way, you get the point, guys. You get the point. Continue, keep it in their ears. Hit them up on the Twitters, saying and tell them your opinion. They're pretty receptive to the public of what your opinions are. Ask them questions. Ask me questions. Have me ask questions to them. I'm Senpai. I do it for my guys. I don't know if you do it for your guys over at twitch.tv/virtualsenpai. I tell them, if there's any questions that you guys want me to ask to the devs, if I haven't already asked it, I'll fucking throw it in there. And I'll be like, hey, one of the guys was asking this. Here's the reason why he was asking this. And what is your answer? And then I will reply if it's a non-NDA answer. If it's an NDA answer, I'm just going to tell, hey, sorry, their answer was NDA. I can't tell you. That's what I do for my guys. I don't know if that's what you do for your guys.
I try and get as many questions. I actually have a wargaming questions channel on my Discord.
Okay.
And it hasn't been used recently,
yeah,
because I only used it for when I went to the CC summit. But it is a channel that I would like to utilize and show people, hey, if you have something that needs to be said, then please put it there, and I can put that into feedback, and I can ask that question if I don't know the answer myself.
All right, there you go. Anything else?
Not really, man. I mean, this has been definitely a whale of a podcast.
It's been a good podcast. I've enjoyed it.
We went through a ton of subjects.
That's a lot of shit.
And 4 or 5 It was insane. Thank you again for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. We got a Q&A session going on, but before we do the Q&A session, we're going to do our Ship of the Week giveaway. Our Ship of the Week last week was the USS Alabama. Only one person put that Alabama totals in, and that was Wandering Garius. So, Wandering Garius, I will send you a container code after the podcast, right before we do our normal show. So, congratulations on that. So, What is the ship of the week? If anybody doesn't know, what I do is I like to ask my guest to choose a ship that they either like or they don't like, and people play it, and whoever has the best game puts it in the Discord channel, discord.gg/SirVenomIK, in the channel that says Podcast Ship of the Week, and I take the best score out of that, and I give them one of my community contributor codes. I should be getting a new set of codes in, so we'll be able to pay off next week. So either way, I put it to you. Ship of the week is what?
All right. So now I've actually been looking at this boat like as we've been talking because I want to play it again because I actually was going to go for a leaderboard in this boat. So we're gonna make it this one. It's going to be you can use its line ship for it, but it's either the AL Montpellier or the Cleveland. Let's see some spicy Cleveland games.
You want to do some Cleveland or Montpelier? Okay, that's the same boat.
Same boat, just different skins. But I've been looking at this thing and I'm averaging like 120 in it.
Did you do that 1v1 rank season?
I did, and I went full on Graf Zeppelin's IFHE secondary.
You were that guy.
Dude, I took a full health, a half health Irian. He wandered into my secondary range, and I melted him in about 20 seconds.
I definitely had issues with the Graf Zeppelins. The one boat that I had issues with that was a cruiser. Didn't have any issues with any battleships except for the Bismarcks, Tirpitz, Massachusetts that turned around and ran away from me. Then I had to get into them, and that was never a good time. But the only cruiser that I had a problem with was the Montpelier. With IFHE, he was taking 4,000 to 6,000 salvos out of my fucking deck, and I could not pin him. If he bowed up to me, my guns on the Prince Eugene just wasn't good enough. They would not pin him. So I lost to a couple of those guys. Montpelier is a fantastic boat. I really enjoy it. So yeah, there you go. Montpelier / Cleveland, same boat. I will take either one of those. You guys just go up in there, pick your best, play a game. You can have multiple entries. I don't care. Pick your best game. We're going to take the highest. We're going to take the highest damage game. If we have a tie or something pretty close, then we'll look at experience and some other shit. But we'll have a winner this week of the Montpelier / Cleveland. So you guys, discord.gg/SirVenomIK, go put it in there in the podcast ship of the week. Woo! Man, what a podcast, man. Virtual Senpai at Virtual Senpai over on the Twitter, twitch.tv/Virtual Senpai. I am Sir Venom IK right here at Sir_Venom_IK over on the Twitter. And here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Sir Venom IK for you people over on the YouTubes. All right, boys, now we're going to go into our Q&A session. Is there anything else? I have to get up and walk away from the computer because I'm about to piss myself. So give me a couple minutes. We'll come back. If you guys have any questions that y'all want to put in there, I'm going to leave you in the wonderful, capable hands here for just a couple of minutes of Virtual Senpai while he entertains you. So I'll be right back, guys.
All right. So yeah, just if you guys got any questions, by all means, I'll take a look at chat. Oh, and my camera. There we go. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think this is like my 4th time. Can I dance? No, Rue. That's for paying customers only, Rue. But it's good to see you again. But anyways, guys, I think this is like my 4th. How much would? I don't know. You'd have to ask one, Hugo. I don't know. I think we paid me enough. I don't know. For paying, I mean, you pay per dance. You pay per dance. But yeah, guys. If you have any actual questions about the stuff that's upcoming, I think these Russian cruisers are going to be actually quite spicy. Honestly, though, the way is there a Brit heavy cruiser that I would recommend? If you really want to start learning, I wasn't really fond of the 5 and 6 when I started playing them. The 7 at the Surrey is where things got pretty good, and then the Albemarle was where things where it kind of leveled off. But the Drake and the Goliath are very good. But if you really want to start the line and you have the 3 XP to spare, I would definitely recommend starting at the tier 7. Welcome back, Mr. Venom.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem, man. When nature calls, nature calls.
Yeah, I know.
What's your personal thoughts on it? Would you actually support a move like this for them?
Peanut bottle.
My personal thoughts on the move for the Moskva, I'm not too happy with how they dealt with it because, I mean, it's been a ship that's been in the game for 2 years or so, two and a bit years. But just the way that they're going about it, if you have it, sure. Like, if you already have it, sure. I mean, I guess you keep it and you get all the buffs with it as well. That's great. So definitely make sure that you grind your Russian heavy cruisers before the change goes over. Then you'll basically get a free tier 10 premium.
Guys,
But the way they're going about it right now, just switching it over to coal like that and just switching everything around, I don't like it. It's not smart.
Just understand that we still have pan-European DDs to come through, so this is not going to take effect for a long time. We're talking 2-3 months, so you have time. If you get on it now, you can do it probably a week and a half. 10,000 experience a day, that's all you need. Right, 10,000 experience minimum. And if there's some of these boats in this line that are terrible that you don't really care for, 10,000 all you need, right? And you can get it free XP, some of that shit too. All right, here we go. Let's see. You ready for this question and answering portion?
Let's send it.
Kind of, sort
Wait, hang on. What buffs to the Moskva? I mean, honestly, if they include the legendary module into the actual ship and then have you access reload or range, I think that would make for a very powerful reward ship. And I think that would justify making it into a reward ship.
Would it put it on Stalingrad level?
I definitely think it'd be damn close because it would be god tier accurate. It'd be more accurate than the Stalingrad with punchy guns, laser light guns. I think that it would definitely be up there if they just baked in the stats of the legendary module and then freed up that 6th slot. I think we'd have a winner there.
All right. Question from Colt 40 Feinberg. He has a couple of them. It was like that when World of Tanks was a 4-tier spread. You had to shoot HE to do anything to the heavy armored tanks, but you had to know when to shoot. He was talking about the meta now for everything is HE. First thing you do, HE. You still see it at tier 6. You still see it at tier 4. You still see it at tier 10. These boats shooting HE all the time, and I think that they're missing out on a big portion of what this game actually is, and they're not using their battleships in particular to their capabilities, to their role of battleships over cruisers, and HE. When you don't use your AP versus the cruisers, you're letting the cruisers get a leg up and stay in the game longer and kill the rest of your team. So use that AP, boys, and a lot of it. Fuck. Hang on, man. Something's going on.
I mean, honestly, the HE meta right now is just a byproduct of releasing so many high DPM ships because, lo and behold, I'm guessing that Wargaming thought we'd only use ships like the Worcester and the Smolensk against enemy cruisers as well as enemy destroyers. But once we started lighting fires on battleships that had soft plating, things got bad. And that's where we see this terrible meta where battleships are punished for even making a move out of spawn. Like, they press the W key once and they get screwed.
All right. How long have you got? Probably 3 months.
Honestly, maybe. I think more. I honestly think more because they're probably going to go through an entire month of this, and then they have to go through the test cycle, which will probably be, for these ships, probably 2 to 3 change cycles, 3 at the max, and those will last maybe 3 weeks each, 2 weeks each. So I think you still have a lot. And then there's the early access, which they'll probably end up doing like they do with every other damn line release. So you'll probably end up having the better part of 3, maybe even 4 months.
That's very fair. They're releasing a line. Last year they released a new line. They released 4 brand new lines last year, and it was every 3 months. So that'd be fair. Let's see. Heavy 20 says lower the fire damage. We were talking about how bad fires are right now.
I mean, yeah, that would be the best thing to do in order to prevent dot damage. Because right now, I mean, with the torpedo flooding rework, where you can get 2 floods now with lesser damage, that was a step in the right direction. Now I think we need to do the same with fires, lessen the damage, so battleships aren't as afraid of pushing into um, into lines of fire in order to tank for their team, so their team can do damage. Now,
Right.
also there was a comment made about saturation. If we can make fires and floods maybe cause more damage, saturation, where they hit like a point of like, okay, this player has flooded for X amount of damage or X amount of fire damage. Now it's time for them to start hitting that diminished return where it's only maybe like 40%, 50% of the full fire damage that they've actually started receiving in the first place. I think that would be a good step in the right direction.
I think the cruiser players would have something to say about that.
I mean, the
Fluffy,
cruiser players have a high enough rate of fire, so they shouldn't even care.
yeah,
Like,
they
yeah,
shouldn't
you're going
care.
to see lower damage, but the
Yeah.
same thing is, though, you're still going to do tons of damage with your HE because it literally pins almost anything and everything.
Yeah. Sniper Ducko, Mr. Floofy says the crazy thing with the Smolinks is it gets similar HE fire chance as the 203 cannons, but it only has 130 millimeters.
I mean, it's kind of messed up that's like that. Let me do a quick comparison. I'm gonna take a look at my tier 10 cruisers right now.
All right.
Let's take a look at Smolensk, which has, and I quote, a 8% chance of fire. Then we move to something like let's take a look at the original fire starter, the Zhao. The Zhao has a 21, and then we'll go to another original fire starter, one of the original two, 18%. So technically speaking, it's not the fire chance that the Smolensk has, it's the volume of fire.
Right, yeah, the rate of
With
fire.
every shell that leaves those barrels, in comparison to the Des Moines 9 and the Zhao's 12, this thing has 16 shells flying out of the barrel that have an 8% fire chance. So therefore, with probability through volume, you will end up getting more fires in a Smolensk than you will in these other higher alpha cruisers, even though the percentage is higher.
Unless your name is Sir Venom. All right.
I mean, there's that too.
Yeah. Fluffy Sniper Ducko also says the fact that having a bad CV still screws you, even though the CV rework was for skill cap.
This is true.
I mean,
a bad CV will ruin you because they won't know how to do damage, and two, they won't know how to protect their team.
I don't even think that. Right? What's your goal as a carrier player when the game first starts? Find them fucking DDs.
Oh yeah, make them pay the CV tax. For destroyers. There's one thing that is there are two things that are completely constant in the world of warships: rocket planes, death, and rocket planes. Those are the constants in World of Warships for DDs.
Spotting. Right now, Fitz in your bomb says, right now, how much skill does it take to play the Shima correctly? Like, use their great guns, spot, take objectives, and our deniability. Deniability torps.
Now,
How much skill?
Shimakaze,
How much skill does a Shimakaze player have when they do that? I think that they're using their boat properly.
I mean, yeah, they're definitely using their boat properly, but we forget to remember that a vast majority of Shimakaze players forget they have guns.
Well, vast majority of fucking destroyer players just forget that they have guns. That's definitely not limited to Shimakazes alone.
I mean, in the last tier 9 season, I actually played a gunboat torpedo reload booster Yugumo spec, and I sat at half health, and I gunned down a full health Z46.
Oh yeah, that's a fun boat to play. And it's butt clenching every time you put it on. And in fact, honestly, Kagero Yugumo, that's the only way to play them, man. That's the only way to play them, in my opinion. All right,
BFT Yugumo, baby.
I don't know about BFT, but I get your point. Fluffy Sniper Ducko says a good DD player is worth more than a battleship player until radar/hydro and CV are thrown into the mix.
I mean, if you put them on paper in those kind of situations, yes, I do agree with that. However, with randoms, there are too many outliering factors that have the potential to change how a player plays, unless they are a bot. And then they just charge in, die, and then start angry turtling at all of us.
Yep. Same guy says, I mean, to be fair, if a CV player can regen his planes, which need fuel, guns, ammo, pilots, AA mounts needs guns, people, ammo. So why can't we regen AA mounts? Is beyond me. I think we talked a little bit about that. I think that's also a thing. But one thing we didn't talk about AA is how the defensive fire button is a finite resource. It will go away eventually. You will lose it. But they have unlimited planes. So I think that it should be just like the Atlanta, just like the Flint. You have unlimited AA buttons. Make the time in between them just a little bit longer, and then give them unlimited AA buttons.
I can agree with that.
I think that would be fair, based on
That
the
would be a
unlimited
quality of
plan.
life increase for a lot of cruiser players.
Agreed. Having a regen CV planes and non-regen AA puts everybody but a CV at a disadvantage for mid to late game. Agreed. I think that CVs get stronger as the game goes on.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The less players in a game, the stronger the CV is. When you take a 12v12 and you put one CV in there, it has to pick and choose. When you do an 8v8 or a 7v7 a la rank season, they don't really have to choose dick. They can just go pretty much willy-nilly anywhere they fucking want to. With all this capabilities of the CV, Wargaming is stated, and a lot of people have stated, that the only way to counter this thing is to you have to overlap your AA. But we've tried to get away from the fucking deathballing. I'm trying to get away from it. You're trying to get away from it. Majority of the players out there are trying to get away from that deathballing because that's a boring play style. Everybody fighting, everybody in the same area, everybody fighting for the same damage, instead of spreading the game out, letting the guys go out there and play their game the way that they want to play it. CVs have too much control over the pace of the game, where the game takes place, but they want you to choose wherever you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double standard, my friend.
It is.
With all the HE spamming, shooting AA off, then CV comes in and just nuke your ass. Yep, that's just a comment. AA doesn't do anything anymore, especially when it gets to tier 3/5. It's tier 3, 4, and 5 planes facing even a tier 4 CV when there's 6 in a game. That's a joke. Have you gone back and played them triple CV games at tier 4?
No, and I have zero intention to, because they need to remove that. They need to remove that feature. I should say.
They actually said that they were looking at that. They actually said that they were looking into that, and I remember Sub Octavian saying that in a non-NDA channel. So there is some hope for that in the future. Now, how does that break down at the higher tiers? I don't know. Double tier 10 CV games, double tier 8 CV games. I've seen a lot of those lately. I'm thinking probably 10 last week alone. But I played a whole lot of games, so it's probably a small ratio anyway. But it is absolutely miserable, and all I want to do is go back to port.
Mm-hmm.
All I want to do is go back to port.
Yeah, it's like, why bother when you're just going to die?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not going to be a very enjoyable game.
Mm-hmm.
Kolar171 says, is there anything special with these new British cruisers other than setting fires?
No, not at all.
I mean, it's got a super heal.
We've already seen the heal, right? Yeah. Like, we already see it on the battleships.
That's nothing new.
It's literally nothing new. As I said, the British cruisers are quite literally like traditional British food, bland and not exciting.
Yeah, there's nothing special about them. I wouldn't go out of your way to obtain any of these. Just get it by normal progression, and you won't be disappointed. But if you spend a lot of money to get all of them, you're probably going to be disappointed with some of them. I don't know. That's me.
It's like your initial purchase of No Man's Sky. All this anticipation followed by immense disappointment.
Like my sex life.
Whoa.
All this anticipation, it's great, and it's over in 3 minutes. Grissom says, it's not really worth buying a tier 10 boat. Earning it is more refreshing, but that's just me. Grissom, man, I want to earn everything that I got here, right? I think I've earned pretty much a majority of what I got here. And but when you earn that shit and then they immediately smack you in the face and say, nope, your achievement is worthless, that's very frustrating. Black Flint.
Yeah, I mean, now technically speaking, they're saying, oh, they're on popular ships, and they're actually moving them over.
Yeah, that's something we didn't talk about. Let's talk about that real quick. Neutered Shimmy, the Black, the Flint are all coming off of the steel, and they're going into the coal ships. Mm-hmm. Eventually. Not going to happen Not going to happen soon, but eventually they will, because they are unpopular ships. Nobody's buying them. Nobody's playing them. So there's on the other hand, the popular ships, the JB and the Smolensk, are coming out of the coal area and they're going away.
Thank goodness.
About time.
Those ships are too popular. So guess what? We're going to take them. Well, guess what? The damage is already done. You should have just pulled them from the account and refunded everyone's coal. The ship's broken.
Should have fucking fixed the goddamn thing. But they don't see that. They don't see that there's a problem with it. That's what I can't get through to them when we're asking these questions. Hey, this boat, if you take off the smoke of the Smolensk, and I think it's perfectly fine because you limit where it can go and what it can do. The Colbert is pretty much the exact same boat, a little bit loopier of a shells, has the same potential, has the same capabilities, but it's limited. The Atlanta, it's limited. The Worcester, it's limited. You have to limit this boat. This boat has a free reign over the entire map. I can run from 1 line to 10 line, hit my smoke, and I've got my floating island right there for no recourse. Nobody has a recourse on it unless they get lucky and spam that smoke and actually hit them. Mm-hmm. So, and well, I'm not going to go into the reply because that was an NDA channel. So, but anyway, let's just put it this way. They don't see that boat as a problem. Or they don't think that it's overpowered. West64 says, I am Irish and I cannot wait for my dinghy. We're talking about everybody wants to play ships from their own countries.
Oh yes. Yeah. I can't wait for the Swiss aircraft carriers either. It's just a single F-18 on a pontoon barge.
I guess that's better than the rest of the Canadian Navy, right?
What Navy?
6 Mounties in a canoe with a moose. I have a picture. Do you want to see the picture?
Oh God. Oh boy. Where's this picture? What have you done, Venom? Uh-oh. I am nervous, but at the same time intrigued. It's going to be a very interesting time.
All right, well, fuck it. I can't find the picture. Well, I'll find the picture after on the stream.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's good, though. It's good. Some of you guys have seen the picture. We got it at TwitchCon last year. All right, so what else is left here? Pig Zips asks, what about the London? Is it worth going for? And the captain, is he worth anything? According to...
London's tier 7, right?
I think it's 6. Either way, from what I understand... the majority of the people that I've heard talking about the London, since I didn't test it and I didn't care, said it's really good. Josh has said it was really decent.
Yeah, it has a low range, but it can smoke shoot with 203s, which means fire for days. It's great when you're high or mid tier, but garbage if you get up against tier 8s.
Well, I mean, it's generally most cruisers, bottom tiers are suck. What about the captain? Do you think the captain's worth a grind?
I think if you're a CV player, it could be very good, because if we look at his here, we'll go over the bonuses, because it's in the I believe it's in the armory now over British Navy 2. So let's click on Andrew Cunningham.
It's 1,000 Royal Turkins.
His enhanced skills, 10% to reload time of all consumables. Okay, that's pretty good. Aircraft armor, 11.5 instead of 10, so it's a 1.5% increase. His talent's lightning fast. Upon causing 2 caused flooding ribbons, speed of the ship and squadrons increases by 5%. So again, this could be interpreted as a destroyer captain. Yeah. Consumable expert, destroy 2 ships and get additional charges for consumables. Heck yeah, that's definitely a destroyer trait right there. So you could go ahead and smack around 2 ships with your destroyer. You've got for example, if you get 2 kills in a daring, you got another heal. Sink, burn, destroy. You get a wither achievement. That's gonna be a carrier or a battleship or a cruiser. Yeah. Talent. You get reload time of the main battery is up by 10% and decreases servicing squadrons by 10%. So I do think that this captain is very worth going for. I mean, even if you don't want it, you should still end up getting it anyway, because what if one day you decide to play that line and you're like, hell, I could really use that captain, because we don't know if this man will be available after this event, because remember, Luigi Sansonetti hasn't come back yet. So definitely go for it. And if you don't get it, I mean, that's no sweat off, that's no skin off your back, but definitely get it just for the sake of having it.
Don't fucking pay any goddamn doubloons for this, though.
Yeah,
It's 1,000 doubloons. For 1,000 doubloons, you get a bunch of flags and 40 tokens. In the gamble. But you're guaranteed at least 40 tokens every time you spend 1,000 doubloons. Is that worth it? I don't think so. I don't think it's worth it. The only question is can you obtain 1,000 of these royal tokens without having to spend it? That's the question. Because right now with all these directives, you can only get 550 royal tokens with just the directives alone.
Mm-hmm.
You can get, I don't know how much you can get for the daily missions or the daily login bonus. I don't know how much you get for the daily missions because they haven't started the daily missions yet. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who already have this guy. And if you already have this guy, well then, hey, more power to you. You've actually spent the money. I did try and spend. I did try and spend a few doubloons just to see, but there's nothing else special in there. All you're doing is spending doubloons for those tokens. Period.
Pretty much.
That's it. That's all you're doing. All right. Pig Zip says, that's how real life is in a naval battle. Are they trying to mimic real life? I think that they try to mimic real life when it's convenient for them. When it's convenient for them, then they try to mimic real life. I had a guy the other day rush me in an Italian cruiser, Tier 7. I was in my massive Massachusetts.
I saw this clip.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Can we show it?
I'll show it after the show because I don't have it up. I don't have it queued up, and I'd have to go.
Hang on. I think I got it.
No,
I can send you that.
I
can send you the URL. It's in our Discord DMs.
But I can't pull up the Discord because you're on Discord. That's the point.
Oh, feels bad.
I'll show it right after this. After the show's over. That guy was so mad because I blew the shit out of him for 20,000 damage from a kilometer and a half. All right, now it was less than a kilometer. He was right up on my dick, and I don't even remember if I scrolled out to shoot at him. But he was calling all kinds of bullshit. You can't depress your guns that far. You can't do that. That's not real. Blah blah blah. And then he pulled out that I served aboard the New Jersey, and I was like, I don't give a shit, man. It's a fucking game, right? It's a fucking game. You got punished for it. Fine. I actually got some good RNG. 9 times out of 10, what happens on those shots? I get fucking overpins. So it's realism. It's realism when it benefits you, right? It's realism for the cruisers because it benefits them for the bullshit armor. Oh, you got to go through this much armor because that's realism. I'm sorry, it wasn't that way 2.5 years ago. I was blowing the shit. I was blowing cruisers out of the fucking water from 4 kilometers, 10 kilometers. It didn't matter. I was very consistent with those damages. Now you get with 10 kilometers, what happens? They go flat broadside where you think you should punish them and you should be able to plow their fucking citadel. Now you're overpinning their citadels, which is inherently against what a citadel is because these are heavily armored areas of the boat. Heavily armored areas of the boat that you go in there, you blow it up, and you fuck up their boat. They're overpinning citadels. And why? Because that's realism for them. And if you really want realism, you fucking cruiser pieces of shit players out there, let me tell you something. Fire never killed a goddamn battleship once, man.
HE shells were used for shore bombardment.
There you go. Either way, I love all you cruiser players out there, because especially with y'all go broadside, because it makes my job as a battleship very easy. So I love y'all. Either way. So there you go. I think realism. What do you think about realism in this game?
If you want realism, go play War Thunder. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I'm not going to advocate for that game at all.
I mean, if you want realism where you can't see a T-34-85 sitting in a bush like 3 grid squares away, you literally pop out for half a second and you're dead. If you want realism, that's how realism worked. If you want your pilot knocked out by a single bullet, that's how realism works. Like,
I
if you
think
want realism, you go play War Thunder. If you want an arcade game where it has some facets of realism, but is also more fun to play with easier access and a larger, more communicative player base, play World of Warships. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're not War Thunder CCs and we're World of Warships CCs.
Oh, I'm a World of Warships CC because, honestly, I don't even know why. I don't know what it is. Because
content, my friend.
Average as
Good
fuck.
content.
There you go. One more question here, and that's going to come from Dr. Project, and then we're gonna call it here because we've been going for quite a long time now. What are your both thoughts on torpedo bulge mechanic? Navy Field used to have a torpedo bulge that soaked up X amount of damage before you started hitting the hull. Do you think that would help towards the battleship players? No. Floods aren't the problem. Torpedoes aren't really a problem. Some torpedo protection versus some torpedoes is pretty negligible. Getting the Amagi that has a 40% damage reduction and still getting hit for 20K off of one torpedo, I think that's pretty bullshit. But torpedoes aren't a problem anymore with the floods.
I mean, to be honest, if you're getting hit for 20K in an Amagi, you're getting hit in the extremities, because if you hit the middle belt sections, you will see that reduction.
Not always, but I understand what you're getting at.
I disagree, because like in the areas where those ships are, like the torpedo bulges are very apparent, especially on ships like, let's pull up
Alabama.
One when it was released, the Alabama, precisely.
Yeah.
That's actually the ship I was going to pull up.
Yeah,
it has a 51%, and you
yeah.
can really see how thick that girl is.
Yeah.
She's thick, like with 4 C's.
Oh man, I was going to say 3 C's, but man, that's extra thick.
Extra thick.
There you go. But anyway, guys, go ahead.
But like, I honestly think that absorbing damage would make battleships way more tanky and would already throw destroyers further into the dumpster where they already are right now with how CVs are interacting with them. I do think that right now the torpedo bulge mechanic, where it is damage reduction, is fine. I mean,
I agree. I think torpedo mechanics versus battleships are right where they should be. I don't have any problem with them. The only problem I have with torpedoes is when I get a fucking massive battleship size hole in my torpedo spread that wasn't there the previous spread. That's very frustrating, but that's RNG. That's RNG for you. I don't get it. The next thing, deepwater PEDs bypass that protection. I think deepwater PEDs are the biggest piece of shit thing that they've ever done here. Especially the Pan-Asian destroyers. They're probably the worst destroyers in the game, simply for the fact that you are legit taking one of your main armaments off of your boat, and now you're not being able to use it. Some of the boats out there have the guns to back that up. Some of them don't. Hin Yang, for example, has shitty-ass guns. It's a fucking Seahull Benson. It is basically a Low Yang without hydro, so it is a piece of trash. I think deepwater PEDs need to go away. I think they need to go the fuck away, period.
I do think that deepwater torps have their place in the game, but it needs to be made more prevalent. They need to put in the tooltip, hey, these torpedoes bypass X% of torpedo protection, in order to make these more viable, so people understand why. Because if deepwater torpedoes go under the torp bulge and into vulnerable parts, I do think that they should maybe allow for torpedo citadels if they are coming up with submarines.
Dude, now we're coming. I was fixing to say, now we're coming into a submarine chat, but that's for another podcast.
Let's not and say we did.
I don't want to get into the submarines because they're still not finalized and they're still not in the place where I've actually played them. So I cannot have any educated opinions. I can have concerns, and I will tell you every bit of my concerns if you guys want to hear them. And I do have some pretty legit concerns, and so far they have not alleviated those concerns at all. What do you think, real quick?
Yeah, they just haven't, honestly. It's just like, I'm just gonna blanket this with, it's gonna be a yikes for me, dog.
It's gonna be rough at first.
You've called, this ain't it.
There you go. All right, boys, that's it. That's all I got. You got anything else you want to tell them, man?
Well, not really, but if anything, I do have this one little thing that I want to talk about. It's called Twitch Prime. If you haven't used it on Venom, it's a free sub that you get every month. And you can definitely be just as average as him if you sub to him.
That's
Use your
right,
Twitch Prime.
guys. Twitch Prime, you can subscribe to your favorite streamer for free or serve Venom IK. Go right on ahead. Guys, we've been hanging out with my man, Virtual Senpai. You guys can find him over at twitch.tv/. You know what? Fuck that. You tell him where you is and tell him what your fucking schedule is, man. Tout yourself here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me just at the link below. See right below this beautiful picture of me that Venom's put up on stream. You can reach me at twitch.tv/virtualsenpai with 2 eyes. Hopefully we'll be able to fix that, seeing as the ones with single eyes are not being used. So hopefully if I get into contact with Twitch, maybe I can snag that name. But otherwise, you guys can find me there. My schedules, I usually go Friday to Monday with the occasional Wednesday stream, depending on what my time looks like. So I usually start around 11 a.m. and I go to maybe about 4 or 5, depending on the day.
That's
maybe
Eastern
sometimes later.
Western time. Specific
Yes,
time
so-
because you start specifically at 11. That's
Precisely. But you guys can find me there. I will hopefully be showcasing some of these new boats once we get our hands on them. I do
Definitely
also
will.
stream at a higher competitive level, being part of one of the top clan organizations on North America, Devastating
That's a 5-inch
Strike.
clan.
Fabulous, 100%. We have the ritual we have before each clan war session. We all rub BFK's bald head. For
I
good
can
luck.
rub my own bald head for luck, but goddamn it, people have been rubbing that shit and they've been rubbed all the luck off of it. They've rubbed me off, Senpai. A lot of dudes rubbing me off, man. Guys, y'all can hit him up over. Yep, there you go. You guys can hit up Virtual Senpai over on his Twitter at Virtual Senpai with 2 eyes, and over here at twitch.tv/Virtual Senpai. I am Sir Venom IK. You guys can hit me up right here at Sir _Venom IK over on the Twitter, or twitch.tv/Sir Venom IK if you guys want to have a live conversation. I will give you a schedule and update next week on the 19th. Chaos Machine GR will join us. He's my Greek brother. From the EU server. The early show, it'll be an early show, so we'll start about 2:30 p.m. U.S. Central Time. We started this at 7 tonight, so whatever that is. So you guys do the math for that. Then the week after that, Static the Warmongler will join us on the 26th at about 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time. And then I have my man Mo Likich going to do a face reveal on the 3rd. That's right. He just made as a affiliated streamer, so he will join us here at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time on the 3rd of February. So back on Tuesdays, starting in March. So face reveal for him. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show tonight. Episode 46 of the Cross Your Bow podcast is in the books. I really enjoyed this cast, man. I'll always love chit-chatting with you because we go very long and we get very long-winded and we go very in-depth and we have 2 difference of opinions and we can somehow come together with a coexisting cohesion. Stuff.
You know, Venom. It's because you're average and I am. I mean, statistically, I'm above average, but you're the average. Then we both combine to find something that's great.
Yep,
because
that's right.
It's always good to have that second viewpoint, like just as like, hey, what about this way? What about that way? And that's why I love coming on this podcast. What is this, like the 4th time, 5th time?
Fucking bajillion. I think Josh has got the lead right now, and I think you're like right behind him.
Oh, I gotta get on to another one.
Yeah, well, we'll schedule that. We'll schedule that in a couple of months. We'll see what happens.
For sure.
Episode 46 is in the books. I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching, man. Thank you, Senpai. Guys, go check out Senpai's channel, man. Go check out his Twitter. Follow him over there. Give him all the love you got. And well, that's it, man. I'm gonna come down. We're gonna play some games. If you guys want to play, hang out, and I'll show you that video, and I'll try to find that picture for you guys. So either way, I love you. We'll see you guys next week, man. Say goodbye, man.
Guys. Have a good one, guys. Twitch Prime.
Twitch Prime.